All right. Well, thanks for coming back. It's been a long time since we've seen this motley crew in a game. Um, Last session, or yeah, basically last session, the group had elected to go to the Temple of Water inside of the Vazriel ruin found underneath the town of Hilton. They quested into the mine, found their way deeper into the temple as they've done before. The Vazriel temple that they are returning to was the very temple where they defeated the Hydra creature known as Sveninson. After defeating it and leaving, they didn't realize that it was a gateway to one of the temples. They've returned. And they've entered into the shrine, or rather the world rather, of water. Upon first entering, they plummeted, and the group was split. Malik and Boo were cast just away from an island. They went up onto the island and found a creature frozen in ice, perfectly encased in it, and spent quite a long time perusing the island looking for some sort of clue or movement forward. They did eventually see on the horizon that there was a ship that was very large. It looked like an island from the distance on initial look, and they decided that they were going to head out for it. But well before that decision was made, the other two landed just outside of a weird grouping of ships that were kind of bunched together. Looks like they were built together, floating out on the sea like a rat king of ships. And they swam up to it in stealth, quietly, hoping to kind of get aboard the ship without, or this weird craft without being spotted. They didn't. They did have a bit of a scuffle with a couple of the people on board. They won. And ultimately, what happened last is Zelbor blasted one of these brigands through a wall with his Bigby's fist. And shortly after that portion of the fight was concluded, they heard from the opposite side of the broken wall a clapping. Someone clapping on the opposite side. And when they looked in, they could see that it was a white-haired drow elf standing up on a table in the center of the room, kind of looking over in their direction. His clapping concludes, and he looks to you, and he says, "Well done. Welcome."
Thank you. Who the fuck are you?
As you're kind of seeing him kind of like just stand there and look at you, you do see that a couple more of the brigandly types and a couple more of the swashbucklers as well are kind of enjoying the scene.
Is there a way to sort of form up with Zell and get near a place where we could jump off the ship if needed?
Give me just a second here, and I'll get you a battle
I think
map.
we're actually like on the deck of the ship, so we should have a quick exit if we need it. Also, since we're in a world of water, is Kevin Costner around here somewhere?
No.
Probably too embarrassed to show his face.
The other thing I want to note and point out too is that when you bloodied these creatures, when you kind of wounded them, their bodies kind of like peeled off of them, like a skin on a creature, and the layer inside, the thing inside was like a water elemental that looked exactly like the skin that was worn. That was something that happened a couple of times, specifically with the swashbucklers at the end of the engagement. All right. This will probably look familiar.
Yeah.
Wee bit.
I have no recollection of how many second wins or indomitables or any of that kind of stuff.
Well, hopefully that's on your character sheet.
Should have marked it on your sheet.
Yeah,
Hey, Reagan.
not so much.
But
I
your hit points,
I got that.
yeah, your second wind ability was used. Your action surge had not been used. Indomitable had not been used. Neither one. Or just the one. You only have the one. 18 is when you get the second one. Yeah. Just your second wind, if I recall correctly. And
Okay.
if you'd like to move forward and kind of form up at the door, it'll be impossible for me to rip a portion of the door away. But, yeah.
Hey, sorry to interject here, but I can't remember who I cast Death Ward on. I know I cast it on myself, but didn't I cast
It only
on
lasts.
somebody else?
It only. How long does it last? 8
I
hours.
think it lasts 8 hours. That's a
Yeah,
long time.
you cast it on you and Boo.
Ah, all right. That's our theme song. We need a theme song for you and Boo.
You will
Alright, I'll shut up.
always
Go
be
ahead.
my Boo.
You and Boo.
I was going for something
Who?
newer, but anyways, so the door. If you want to move up to it, Andy, you can kind of see into the room, and you'll see that there's a couple of people running across the table, kind of stopping near the drow in the middle of the room on this elevated platform that you can see there, and he's kind of looking over in your direction. He's standing in a very saucy kind of pose, kind of angled at an almost unnatural kind of seductive stance, and his hands are kind of close to his chest. He's holding one set of fingers in the other hand's palm, kind of looking at you as you see the others are a bit more rough and tumble, ready to run.
Hawk would whisper to Zell, like, maybe you want to try to talk them out of a fight.
Got it. So anyway, as I said, who are you?
Who am I?
Yes, who are you?
I'm the shipwright. Who are you?
I am the person that is awesome. You can call me Zelbor, though.
Well, that
The
makes
Great.
sense. Zelbor the Great. Interesting. And I presume that you are someone of import as well?
Yes, this is Hawk.
Hawk, is it? Not with any adjectives or nouns placed after his name?
I hold the orb of Gavilis.
Yes, Hawk of the Orb Holding.
Thank you.
No problem.
And I presume that you are, neither of you are the water bearer.
No, we've been split from the rest of our party.
Where is... So you do not know where he is?
We don't. We'd like to be reunited. Do you know where they are?
I do not. As he kind of says that, Zelbor, the wind outside behind you, because remember it's kind of like a broken out ship, you're just on a deck. The wind outside behind you kind of becomes heavier, and a bit of foam and sea kind of splashes up onto the deck and kind of lingers on the wood. Some of it splashing back down into the sea behind. But the individual says, "There is only one way to go from here. Well, only one true way to go from here. I cannot tell you how you're supposed to walk that path, but I can tell you this." And as he says that, Zelbor, you kind of look at...
Hold on one second.
Oh,
None of the foam got on my jacket, right?
only superficially, not like
He's such a jerk.
not like hard splashing. But you notice that the skins that were left behind by the last two individuals, the water seems to be moving across the deck towards those bodies, towards those flaps of flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Can
So
I
with the
grab them with Big B's hand?
Yeah,
we don't want to fight though.
one reaches down and kind of scoops up the
Just
skin,
grabbing-
scoops up the skin, and moves it away from the other one, the water. The other one starts to kind of like bubble up, like water starts to fill it in this sickening, macabre kind of way. It seems to start at the head, and the head kind of like forms like a normal human head would, and seems to move about like a normal human head would, but the neck is completely flat like a balloon, and so it's like kind of dangling as the body's kind of bubbling and moving around. The drow elf looks to you and says, "We can fight all you'd like. It's a treat for us. It really is. We very rarely get to show the ways can move. But I assure you, you will lose, and we will win. So, if you wish to leave this place the way you came, you can grant me a gift of substance. Or we can fight." And as she says that, again, you've got the skin in the hand and keeping it away from the water. The other one kind of is like filling up and kind of pushing itself up against the wall, and you can see that like most of the torso is kind of filled up at this point. It's a slow process, but it seems to be effective. You're pretty sure that if fighting was to happen, this one could probably move around a bit, although it wouldn't be able to do much because it has no legs. The legs are basically rubber. He says, "Do you know what you would be able to give me? What you would be able to grant me of substance? If not, perhaps you should learn a bit about me to discover what I might like from you."
I was going to ask, what do you mean by something of substance? Should I cut off my own arm and give it to you, or do you mean something of value?
The elf looks to the these kind of dwarfish looking lot that have kind of moved up near him, and the two swashbucklers that are still in the room with him that aren't half full, and kind of looks to them and kind of gestures his head, and they all start to walk away and kind of head into a room to the southwest and disappear. The elf kind of saunters, just absolutely the most exaggerated movements that you can kind of imagine.
He's stealing my stick!
And sits at the table, at the head of this table here. And kind of gestures to the table for you guys. Again, you're looking up at him, but he hops down off the middle table and then moves over to that center point and sits.
Okay.
Yeah, we would definitely go in there.
Yeah, just to give you a heads up, Bigby's hand probably has dissipated at this point
Okay.
because it lasts for a minute.
Yep. After the conversation, it drops the skin, and the water starts to kind of splash up again and start to fill the cavity of the flesh. The one that
So why don't you tell us about yourself? I'm sorry, go ahead.
sorry, the one that you left behind gets up. The elf looks to it, and it does the same. It walks to that same room. And then you were saying.
Why don't you tell us about yourself and what kind of gifts and a gift of substance you'd be looking for?
Oh, right to the point. So indelicate.
Absolutely.
He's not one to mince words or to
No.
beat around bushes. He typically prefers to chop them off.
Like a rock through a window. A subtlety that can't be mistaken.
No, he has no idea of the fine art of negotiation.
Oh, but you have
Of
nuance.
course.
Very good.
Of course.
He
One must have class in a business such as this.
he kind of raises his hand and claps his hands daintily, and the one that stayed behind quickly moves to the northeastern door and rushes through. And you can kind of, just looking at it, hear that there's a bustle behind it. Something's going on in there. A bit of noise. There might be more of these creatures within. The shipwright kind of looks to you two and says, "Are you hungry? You must be famished."
Sure. That would be very kind of you.
What would you like? You see how getting directly to the point is so obnoxious? I wish to stall
we're
you.
going to-
You wish to
if we're
stall
going
me?
to make this a moment of class. How about we get some nice roast duck?
Roasted duck, of
and,
course.
some decent white wine.
A white wine. I think that can be managed, seeming to just kind of disregard Hawks. You're trying to stall me? Like,
Right.
eventually, a couple of the dwarf folk come out. One has a silver platter with heat-containing lid on top, sets it out on the table, and then reaches down into a pocket and pulls out more things. Like he was holding the one tray, but it seems like he contained other things in a bag of holding. And he puts out a basket of rolls and, looks like some sort of sauce, possibly cranberry or maybe some other sauce, and just a bunch of food out onto the table. But the centerpiece, once the thing is pulled away, does appear to be this roasted duck, very large sized duck, and smells
Also,
delicious.
I'd like to say, John, during this whole time of food preparation and all that, Zelbor is just going to do the most light chit chat that is saying much. Well, sorry, that is speaking much but saying little.
And the shipwright is on board. The only person who seems to be annoyed at this whole just series of, because we're probably talking about the small niceties of what just happened,
Of course, and discussing the exact use of proper silverware in situations where one must.
Yeah, no, it's talk about etiquette. He's like, Bigby's crushing hand. That's a spell I haven't seen in ages. If I recall, that's one of the spells from the 9 that fell from the heavens. And it's blah, 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 just storytelling.
And of course, that's part of the reason why I love it, because it's underappreciated and undervalued by so many.
But yet so devastatingly efficient. And the wine is poured. It does have kind of a musky white color to it. I would say it's not as clear as a white should be. It looks like it has kind of almost like it has something floating in it. If you'd like, you can make a intelligence history check, to kind of try and discern what it might be.
Let's see. Am I proficient in history? I don't think I am.
I am.
No, I am not. Well, let's see. I get a +4 to this. So.
I got a 21.
Really good.
I got a natural 20.
He got a 24.
So you're loosely familiar with how drow operate from just parlance and discussion in higher culture. Drow are not very common creatures. They live in the Underdark. They're not evil like normal drow. They typically just focus on dreams and whatnot. But when they are awake, they do try and have a bit of revelry. And what they do is, when they kind of make their wines, they are fermented from kind of a grape-like fruit from the Underdark, or rather the Foul Deep. And they're usually filtered through a special type of mushroom that adds a bit of a consistency to it, but really enriches the flavor of the grape-like fruits. But yeah, it's not very common stuff, to be sure. I assume you.
Oh yeah. Of course, I'm going to talk about the wine for about 20 minutes.
And he's on board. He tells you about the vintage and how this was made for a specific dreaming cult, and how he was kind of put away from it. And you're getting more about him. And basically, what you're understanding is he is a shipwright. He seems to be continually talking about how he's made everything that's here, even though you are very clearly aware that this table doesn't match the table across from it. The ship end that you saw that you came in does not match the ship ends that you seem to see you're connected. It's like everything is a hodgepodge. And you are also getting that vibe from the food that's been laid out before you. There are so many varied tastes that are present. So you have a cranberry sauce, which is kind of farmer food. And then you've got this really rich sourdough bread, which is just well made. The wine, which is from the drow's kind of deeper underdarky nature. The duck seems to be kind of cooked in a halfling style, with a marmalade glaze, and
Which is fantastic, of course. Halflings know their duck.
Oh, for sure. It's one of the only fowl they can really catch. They swim right there on the water, and the river folk, but it just seems to be a bit of a hodgepodge, from what you can tell. So it seems like, again, draw your own conclusions, but it seems like he has taken the title of shipwright. He's interested in finer things, but you don't think that he personally is possible. You don't think he's possibly able to create anything of his own.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, interject however you'd please.
I indicated what I was doing. I see you typing.
Yeah, he's just trying. He put in chat. He's trying to look around.
No, I know.
Don't drink the wine.
Hawk's boring. I'm just saying.
I'm boring, yeah.
Are you trying anything in specific, Zelbor? I think this conversation is mainly for you.
Yep.
I'm basically like I feel like you've given me a decent amount of what I want because I'm trying to use this conversation to figure out more about not necessarily who this is, but what this is.
Sure.
'Cause I'm not entirely sure after what I've seen either that he's necessarily just another drow.
Okay. So you would note. Make a wisdom perception check, or charisma perception check.
Charisma perception.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not insight? No, I'm kidding. I still get a +8 for charisma.
You're not trying to read him. You're trying to read
Yeah.
the table. Not bad, but
Well,
not
hold
great.
on a second.
Oh.
Hold on. I think I have not used my luck point.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead,
Let me
burn it.
just double check.
Yeah,
that.
you did. No, nobody used luck on the last session.
Yeah, I'm gonna screw it. I'm gonna try to luck this one. That's
Alright.
better.
So what you notice as you're kind of talking and kind of coming to the conclusion that this guy, doesn't really make anything of his own, what you notice is that the bottle of wine that's been left out on the table has barnacles and kind of a bit of like just roughness to the glass. The duck that you're eating, it tastes great, but it's a bird from the water. You notice too that the bread, the basket that it was in, appears to be more of kind of like a almost like a military rationer or something that someone would put like on a ship to keep it sealed away. Everything appears to have a very dragged from the sea kind of look to it.
Gotcha.
And this seems to be
Are you sure this guy isn't Kevin Costner?
He may very well be, but again, the stuff that he seems to be keeping around him looks like it's just pulled from the water.
You drink a superior healing potion instead of wine.
I
You've got your hip flask there, just like, I don't trust what everyone puts in front of me.
don't trust
After,
Bud Light.
I'd like to say, after the appropriate amount of time, so, probably like after we finish the duck and have been sitting there for about 15 minutes letting it digest.
So we've spent about 45 minutes to an hour kind of just
Right.
dancing around
Which-
subjects, yeah.
Seems appropriate. I would say, well, that was a wonderful time. But we do, I believe, have business, and while it is sad we must turn to it, I feel like it must be addressed at some point.
Oh, of course.
Upon saying this, I do refill my glass, which I'm actually going to do now.
So I didn't notice anything funny happening besides the board coming loose.
No, not really. The other one filled up with water and kind of got up and started, heading over to the other side. Yeah. When it enters into the chamber where everyone else went, you can see that there are hammocks. Like you're trying to find something, so you're focused on looking.
Yep.
You can see that there are hammocks, and it looks like they've got skins laid out in them, and the water appears to be not present. So, like, it seems
Okay.
like when they go to sleep, they empty themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I do believe we must turn, so I must ask,
Yeah.
tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
I love it.
Well, you must understand that in this place there are so many treacherous things that can be that can come down upon us. So many horrible things. Have you seen the evils within the coral reef? Have you
Not yet, but I'm sure that will.
have you been graced by the dread pirates, the ice ship?
Again, not as yet, but
Have you seen the
we will.
Have you seen the horror frozen in the lake of ice?
You mean that bottle of 1992 Chardonnay? Yes, I know that's a tragedy.
Aw. No. Well, it seems like you are fresh arrivals, but why would you come here? Interesting. So then, you've come from the outside world, somewhere beyond this place. If that's the case, then you must have something. Anything. From out there.
Anything, something from out there.
Matt, do you have anything?
I mean, I have a couple of things, but they're all useful. Or, well, yeah, no, they're all pretty, well,
I have one thing. I'm not sure he'd want it or whether I'd want to give it.
what one thing are you thinking
I'm
about?
thinking the worm's weird's a heart.
Do we want to give that up?
I don't know. I think it makes more sense to give it up than to fight through all these people. Perhaps I'm wrong.
I'm going to... Yeah, I'm going to try this, actually. I am going to take off the +2 ring of protection that I have
Okay.
that no longer works.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. On you, at least. It's still good, right?
No, it doesn't... I was wearing it when...
Disjunction.
Yeah, when the magic...
Oh, God. When the magic
got
went away.
Nerf.
The day
Okay.
the magic
Thank you, Boo.
died.
And you hand him
No
the ring.
problem.
He
I don't hand it to him, I hold it up to him so that he can see it, but...
that is a fine gift. That is perfectly fine. And all that I would seek to tell you that the way you must go is north.
That's good to know. I pass the ring over to him.
He takes it and closes his hand, kind of holds it close to his chest, and you can see that he slipped it onto his hand very, very nimbly. And he stands up, not suddenly, just kind of slowly rises up off the table, and walks away from you to the northern wall, where there's a door in between the two kind of northern walls. And he walks over, opens the door, and kind of holds it open and looks to you, and gestures out.
Get up and proceed that direction.
Gestures outside. On the northern side, there's a small T-shaped dock, and set on the dock is a small ship. The ship in question appears to have kind of a headmast. It looks like a almost an exact kind of replica of Malik, just on the front of the ship, as the what are those called? Why is my brain not working? I know what they're called. The headpiece. The
And a ship?
yeah, the front of a ship.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I don't know why my brain's.
Does it have a mermaid on there?
Yeah, my brain's not working. But instead of being a mermaid, it's Malik, carved out of like some sort of bluish
Figurehead?
Yeah, figurehead. That's the one. Some kind of bluish stone, and it's not a very large ship. It looks like it might be able to hold a total of 4 people. And he says to you, I of course will grant you my ship. Just return it to me when you are done with it, if you can, and be on your way.
But of course, and
We thank you for this kindness.
I thank you for this gift. All right. Once you get on board the ship, it is a rowboat. It does look like 2 people are going to be required to move the ship, maneuver the ship.
Okay.
Looks like you have to do some work, Zell.
I cast Unseen Servant.
You're so lazy. So
Okay,
Hawk
I
is
actually-
rowing
I
on
do
one
not-
side.
I do
and
not
Steve
have
is
Unseen
on the other.
Well, no, I do not actually have Unseen Servant anymore, so I actually will have to.
Oh.
But if I did, that would have been perfect.
Get a picture.
That would have been perfect if I still had it, but I haven't used it in like 12 levels.
Okay. So, I'm gonna ask, like, what you guys do once you get on the boat.
So we would track north, right?
Okay. Make a. If you have Navigator's Tools Proficient, make a Wisdom check with proficiency bonus. If you don't, just a Wisdom check.
Both of us, or just one of us?
Either or. If you can, one person roll with advantage, or you can have one, or both of you roll once.
You have a better Wisdom score than I do, I think so.
I think so. Just a regular wisdom check.
If you don't have Navigator's Tools as a proficiency, yeah.
I have a +0 on wisdom.
Oh, you have the same as me. So maybe we should both roll and just chance it that one of us does well.
Well, no, one can roll with advantage.
Correct. Or both can roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm saying, since we both have +0, it might just as well we both roll.
15. Okay.
Okay. Zelbor, you kind of notice. I mean, you've been on boats before. You kind of notice. You're trying to recall the lingo that they were using, and you kind of notice that the sky itself is water, but you can see that there are lights kind of in the water up above you that seem to be similar in kind to stars, and it seems the positioning is very similar to stars in the normal plane. And one specific celestial object, which is always visible in the material plane, especially in the northern territories, is something known as the Dargian Rift, which is kind of like a black bar that kind of goes across the sky at night. It's visible in the water, and you can see that would be the direction that, because it's in the north, you can see that would be the direction that you would go to.
Right. I point to the right and say, we need to turn port. No, wait. Port.
And I presume you start sailing or rowing in that direction, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was about an hour and a half or so. 2 hours. Meanwhile, these 2 other blokes on the other side of the world.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
These 2 have finally decided that they're going to try and make their way out to whatever that is off in the distance. Are you going to swim for it?
I don't have a problem with that. What about you? Can you swim?
Not as well as you, but yeah.
Leave it to Aquaman!
Malik, this is something you've thought about in the past. The only person in your group that you think you would have a problem swimming with while they're on your back is Hawk. Everyone else could probably, when you transform into your trackless form, you're pretty sure you could swim, and they would still be able to they would be able to hold onto your back or mount you.
He's like a dolphin.
Boo. Will you mount me?
Like a
Hell
dolphin.
yeah, buddy.
You don't
Let's
have to
do
give me
this.
You don't have to give me a ring or anything. You just have
My-
to hold on tight.
Jump on that shit.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna get big and strong, and
Half fish.
wide and all
Fuck
that
yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
just go. I'm gonna go.
All right.
We're
You start.
reenact.
Muscle.
You
We're
have.
literally reenacting the water temple from Breath of the Wild, where I just ride on the back of
Yeah.
him through the water, just like...
More so than you think, because you're riding up on an ice ship.
Fuck yeah, buddy.
You can see off in the distance that this ship, this very large galleon ship, appears to be just covered in rime and frost, and it seems that some portions of it are actually like linked together and held together by ice. Like there are portions of the rigging, from what you can see, that have snapped and broken apart or withered away over time, but ice has reconnected them and reforged the ship in its hold. You can also see that there are 3 total people on board the ship. A total of 3 people on board the ship. There appears to be 1 at the wheel. There appears to be 1 at the front of the ship. There appears to be 1 in the crow's nest. The one in the crow's nest turns and looks at you, and you are certain that you hear something kind of yelled out, as you would expect. And then you see that the small doors on the sides of the ship open up, and out from them come these strange-looking tube devices.
Look, they're welcoming us.
Yes.
I
Friends.
don't think that was a happy face, Mel.
Do you continue to approach?
I don't have control of that, unfortunately. So
You're riding them though.
I'm
Yeah.
fucking along for the ride, buddy. This is your temple. Let's do
All
this
right.
thing.
We're just heading on there.
Okay.
Oh man.
So what I'll need from you, Malik, is as you're approaching, I need a dexterity saving throw, please.
Ooh, that's my strong point too.
Oh, I'm so dead.
Oh, that's your strong.
As you're kind
I
of
just got blown
As you're
up.
kind of swimming across the water and you're like, yeah, they're welcoming us, or whatever you said, you see that this blue light kind of emanates inside of the tubes as they kind of lower down towards like your direction, and they all shoot these jets of water straight down at you, and it rips into both of you like razors, just and it sends you kind of sprawling off to the side from your current trajectory. Boo, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw as well to see if you can stay on top of your mount.
You got this, Boo.
More than
It's all
enough.
dex.
Yeah.
So you kind of go under and up and out, and it seems like the brunt of the damage was taken by Malik. Malik take 12 points of slashing damage, and then Boo take half.
All right.
And it seems like the power of these jets will grow incrementally as you get closer to where the jets are firing from, if that makes sense. So they fired a volley. All of the 12 cannons that are kind of on the side of the ship fired at once, the water jets. They stop, and you can kind of see a remnant of the blue light kind of flicker down and then start to grow up again, like they're ready to fire again. My question
Shall I welcome them back? And I've already got the bow and arrow ready. Like,
yeah, if you'd like.
that was more a question to Mel in character.
Oh,
like,
sorry.
shall I welcome them back as I'm like drawing the arrow?
I say
Pulling
sure,
it
and I
back.
try to hold steady. while
Fuck yeah, buddy.
I become a floating platform.
Okay, one question from you though, Malik. Are you going to continue to try to advance as he's getting ready to fire on, or do you want to hold your position that far out?
I'm gonna. Well, how far out are we? Like 100 feet?
No, closer to 500 feet.
Ooh, so that's like
He's a
within long
sharpshooter.
shot
He
for
doesn't
him.
care.
Doesn't matter. I'll hit him with no fucking problem.
Okay, I will stop then and just kind of coast a tiny bit in the water,
Okay.
so I'm not getting in the way of his shot.
All right. Go ahead and take your shot.
Yeah. First one at the guy in the crow's nest.
Okay. Hits.
I'm also gonna do
Don't worry.
this.
Don't worry about all the other stuff. You hit him, and he breaks into 100 shards, and you just see this mist
okay,
of
cool.
ice kind of flourish around that area, just kind of floating around the crow's nest now, like he popped into a cold morning. All right, second shot.
Cool. Not the guy behind the wheel.
Okay, if you fire at the one at the front of the ship, it kind of turns to you and looks at you. The other two were looking at you before that point, but this one wasn't paying attention to you guys. Turns to you and looks to you, and the arrow seems to be flying dead on, and then it kind of just stops in the air and starts to break like the guy up above did. It doesn't seem to hit the front person, who's kind of wearing these strange robes and kind of looks at you. Unnaturally, his eyes are very blue. Like, I hate to be the cliche, but like White Walker-y kind of blue eyes.
Awesome. Then I have one last shot at the motherfucker driving the boat.
Okay.
Was that-
Hits. Yeah, it hits. It actually sticks, and he kind of leans over the wheel and kind of grunts. "Ah!" From what you can see.
Is he dead?
No. He just looks like he's pretty well wounded.
Cool. I'm also gonna do that,
Okay.
and I'm gonna fire another shot at him.
Are you firing all three at him?
Until he drops.
Okay. Keep shooting. So we've got a total of
Wow.
Hawk, why do they
18,
keep shooting at us?
15. Okay. What's the total there?
Man,
I just masked
you
that.
are
Hold on.
fucking.
Holy shit.
I didn't know I
I
could
got
do
it.
that. That's 29 plus 11 is 44 in just the first two, and then 44 and 18 is 64, and then
Jesus Christ.
64, 68, 68, 72, 82 so far. Is he
Wow.
dead?
No.
God damn it. 82 last shot. Did that drop him?
I don't see another shot. There we go.
The
go.
22.
22
Sorry.
misses.
Awesome.
Whoa.
As it comes close, you see this barrier kind of block against it. It seems to kind of distort the air around him.
I'm gonna try and hit the other guy with a curve.
It snaps, and you see the arrow freeze in
cool.
place within 5 feet of him and drop or break apart like the crow's nest guy.
I wanted to make sure I just couldn't do anything about it. I was making sure it wasn't like a one-shot thing.
Yep.
We're good.
The guy at the wheel, he places his hand on it, and you can see this just coating of ice just take over it, and then he drops down from the poop deck where the wheel is at into kind of like a area where he's now invisible to you. You don't know where he's at exactly, but you know approximately where he is on the ship. The frost up at the top of the ship, you see it all snap back into position in the center, and the crow's nest guy reforms, kind of points out towards you again, menacingly, and you see that the cannons are kind of filled to the brim again with the blue light, and then water splays out again. Malik, you are kind of stationary, but obviously ready to move. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw.
All right. Oh, I am
You
so bad at
son of a
Dex.
bitch.
I am horrible at Dex.
You're gonna fucking kill me.
Yeah, even with your
You could get underwater if you want.
Ain't gonna help me shoot.
you see him
No.
kind of splash about. Boo, go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw. You'll be at disadvantage for this. Doesn't matter. Okay. As you're trying to kind of save away from it, Malik kind of looks to you, and you can see that his aura of protection, which has benefited you a number of times in the past, kind of moves to kind of pull you back in, and then this strange event happens, and you kind of become weirded out by it. It seems the reverse effect happens immediately, and you're shot away from him 50 feet towards the ship.
Fuck yeah, buddy. Let's do this thing. Cannonball special.
It's,
Unwilling.
it's still 450 feet away,
It's 400
and then
feet away.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I only got launched 50 feet, right?
right.
Yeah.
Oh man, god damn it.
Damage wise, you're
far
both going to be taking the 14 points of damage I just rolled.
All right.
All right, leads back to you. It looks like the crow's nest guy reforms regardless. You're not sure who's commanding the water turrets, but they seem to be happening every turn as well. The guy at the front of the ship, you don't know what his purpose is, but you do understand that he's not touchable. And the captain is well wounded, bloodied even, and seems to have run away. The ship is just idly moving. It's not moving at a very fast clip at all. It's just kind of idly moving in the water. Not towards you, kind of a stride.
Okay. Do we each get to go then?
Yeah. He's 50 feet away from you and in the water, so he'll have to make an athletics check to see if he can swim. and then you're 50 feet away from him. You have a swim speed though, and I forget what it is. You're in track.
Yes. Oh,
I think it's 50.
I should have it written down. That would be nice, wouldn't it? I will check and see if I have it. I think it might even be 60 when I have my.
Yeah, it's pretty high up
when
there.
I have my half pipe on. That's my tail for those.
What kind of check you want?
Oh, athletics.
You gotta be strength,
Oh, sorry.
dex.
Strength athletics. Apologies. Sometimes
No worries.
sometimes I forget where I am.
It's all good. That's what I'm here to remind you.
You're good. You're managing to keep afloat, and if you want to advance or head back to Malik, either or, you can.
I'm assuming I'm hoping he's gonna come to me and pick me up. Like I'm
Yeah.
hoping he's smart enough to do that and not like turn around and run tail. If he does, I'll make that choice.
And mount him as your movement
Mount me.
and take your action.
right, but like, yeah, you got it.
Got it. So
All right, so I will move toward him 50 feet.
yeah,
And I guess the boat would still be probably like
40,
400 feet away
450.
from me. Holy shit, that's a long ways. I don't even think I have anything that could reach that far.
You could dash.
But well, I mean, I can catch up with. Once I catch up with.
You're gonna do that in one move.
Grab him.
Yeah, and he's actually ready.
I guess.
He's ready to scoop himself up onto you.
All right, then I'll keep moving. So
Okay.
we'll get another 50.
So
feet.
he'll hop onto you, and then you'll move 50 feet closer, and he'll fire during that movement.
Right.
Okay. Now the two targets that are available, it looks like it's the crow's nest guy who pointed at you right before the ship fired its water jets, and then there's the other guy who is untouchable with your arrows apparently. Or if you have some kind of crazy magical that should shoot around walls, the captain is still an option, I guess.
Use your torpedo shot. I can take the whole boat down.
That's my magical, crazy, stupid shoot around walls thing that you were talking about.
Boo, an arcane archer fires off a Sea King arrow. Fuck yeah, Sea King. And I need to make a dexterity saving throw.
Yeah, to determine whether you take 18 damage or 9 damage, but you're still fucking getting hit, bitch.
Yeah. So you fire your arrow off, and you see kind of like a sideways cross appear on your screen that makes a sound, kind of a sound. You're pretty sure it hit, and you're not sure if it killed, but you're pretty sure you hit.
I learned the target's location if he failed, so
He seems to be lying down on the deck of the ship, just below where the poop deck's located. Like he dropped down and fell below the high banisters. And
Awesome.
your arrow basically went right into his back.
Fuck yeah. Still not dead though, right?
You're not sure. You can't see him.
Okay.
It doesn't tell you if he's living or not.
That is true. That is very true. I'm okay with that action
Okay.
for right now. As a bonus action though, because I got one of them's.
Good deal. Second wind. For 20 hit points. Good deal, good deal. All right. You're about 400 feet away, and at that moment, the cannons, the thing's now moving its finger to point down at where you're now at, and the cannons kind of move in accordance and fire their shot. Dexterity saving throw from the skipper.
You know, if mine is even decent, I do get a +6 to it, but I've been.
No, I know.
rolling shit.
I've been
It
paying
doesn't
attention to
matter.
that. The DC is 18.
Yeah. There we go. That's better.
That's successful. Okay, so you guys stay on it, but the damage has increased because of proximity. So 20 would be the normal, so 10 damage, and you don't need to make a dexterity saving throw to stay aboard. It's just damage splash. Okay. During this next turn, are you guys going to continue swimming straight at it?
Oh, wow. It's up to you, buddy.
What if this thing is like a T-Rex where you need to swerve so that it can't chase you?
You do you.
I'm just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna keep I'm gonna try to every once in a while do like a super jump, so that if any wave cannons that go off, they go underneath us. Kind of like
So you're going to try and anticipate the shot to try and avoid
Yeah.
it?
like
Okay.
jump over it. I want to
Um,
look really cool when I do it too. Like I want to flex my pecs and be like,
if that's your action, I'll let you have the dodge, so you can get a bonus or advantage on the save.
that's what I will do then.
Okay, so
I'm gonna keep heading in closer. Tell me when we're within 100.
you'll be within 350 at this point. So if we're just going to continue to move in this kind of function, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there's nothing else that's happening, is that the case? No attempts to do anything else to the ship with arrows.
I have to get within 120 feet before I can do what I want to do.
I got Zach reading. I don't know what he's doing. You got any plans?
Yeah, dude.
Okay. What would
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
We're gonna fire another arrow at the stupid motherfucker who keeps stopping him 5 feet away from his face.
Okay,
Stops it 5 feet away from his face, right?
correct.
Boom.
Okay,
Welcome to my green arrow moment.
it
Just
explodes.
like stops it and it pops in his face. I just want it to hurt a little bit and like giggle.
It explodes. It does seem to knock a bit of the ice off of it, and the second it does, it kind of like raises its hand and clenches it. The arrow comes back to its form, and it kind of looks at it and sends it right back at you.
Uh-oh.
What?
Wait, you could do that?
That feels like cheating.
Your
That's
AC,
cheating.
Your AC is higher than 15, right?
Yep.
Okay. The arrow goes zoom right past you, and then you hear it detonate in the water behind you, almost as if it reciprocated the same exact magic arrow you fired at it.
Fascinating.
All right, but he looks annoyed. But he goes back to what he was doing before, which is just kind of staring off the side of or staring off the front of the ship. The crow's nest guy points again. Once you guys get to 300 feet, the cannons move into their position and splash. Dexterity saving throw from Malik with advantage because you were dodging.
Malik.
Okay, success. So you guys will take only 9 points on the half for this one.
Only 9.
Okay, so you're 350 feet out. If you dash, you'll get 100 feet closer. If you dodge, you'll have advantage on your next saving throw.
I think I will dash.
Okay, we're
We need
going
to
to
get closer.
250 feet. And then, Boo, is there anything you want to do? Any tricks or craziness? The crow's nest guy's still there. The crazy guy with ice is a little rattled by the force damage you dealt him, but he looks like he's back to what he was doing.
I'm gonna try that same shot again and see
Okay.
what happens.
Okay. So you fire it, it stops. You burst it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It rattles more ice off of him. Go ahead and roll the damage.
God.
He reforms the arrow again and launches it off at you. 24 should hit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Man.
All right. You're taking 7 points of damage from the arrow itself, and then it detonates, which will deal. What are you rolling for that? 2d6.
Yeah.
Seven more points of force damage to both you and Malik.
Both of us. How much did I take?
7 for you and 14 for Boo. Yeah, the arrow hits him and then bursts as it exploded, just as it did at it.
Come on.
And you can see that his attention does not return to the front of the ship. He kind of looks out at you, and kind of looks up at the crow's nest, and then looks back down at you, like he's now invested. You dash to 250 feet. So dexterity saving throw from you, Malik, Raw, as they fire the cannons. Again, the crow's nest guy points to where your position is now. The cannons adjust and fire.
I'm going to like kind of time it and go boom.
No.
And hit right into it.
Yeah, well, smash.
Oops, I
Dex
didn't time that right.
saving throw from the Boo.
Oh no. Got hammered.
All right.
Nice.
Malik, you're taking 22 points of damage, but Boo holds on and is only taking 11.
Maybe I should try riding on top of you, Boo.
Switch.
Yeah. Let's do some switchies.
Can't go any worse than this.
That's right.
Jesus.
Are you
Just
dashing?
then, David Hasselhoff appears.
Are you dashing or dodging on the next bit?
I think I'll dodge.
Okay, so you're moving 50 feet, so this closes you
Yeah.
to a 200 gap. Okay. And then, Boo, are you doing anything? Are you doing anything that you want to do here? Any actions you want to take while you're riding?
Can I shoot the crow's nest guy again?
You can shoot him real quick. What you noticed on the first time that you shot him is he reforms at the start of his turn. So
Okay.
it looks like during his turn he points to where you're located, and then the cannons fire. So take that knowledge as you will.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna. I don't really have anything good.
Make a perception check real quick. I think it has been a while, and we haven't talked much about stuff D&D wise.
Wisdom?
So, yeah, wisdom perception, please.
Thank you.
You're pretty sure that he reforms at a specific point in time, like every 6 seconds or so. You're pretty sure that before he points, if you were to fire it, if you were to ready an action to fire in response, you'd be able to stop him from pointing at the right direction. Want to give that a go? Okay.
Yeah, I'll give that a go. I got 3 shots, so 2 of them should connect, right?
He starts
Do
to
that.
point and move his hand in the direction to point. You fire your arrows at that exact moment. The first one hits and he detonates and bursts. Shortly thereafter, the water jets right over the tops of your heads as you guys close in 50 feet to a 200-foot distance. It goes back to you. He's not reformed yet, but you know that he will. The other one hasn't really done anything yet besides turn its attention to you. And with that perception check, you would also note that the boat seems to be turning as well, almost as if it's turning at the behest of the person at the front. So, Malik, seeing that Boo seems to have the water jet solution, are you dashing?
Yeah, I'm gonna dash then.
Okay.
That's a good solution.
Closing to 100 feet?
Fuck yeah.
And ready action to fire at the crow's nest if need be.
You got it. I should be able to time it so I can launch the arrow and it'll hit him in the face right as he forms, right?
Yep, he reappears, an arrow basically already lodged in its place.
Greets him.
And you fired it in such a way that it's already inside where his head will be. And he just bursts because he can't form.
Yeah.
The guy at the front of the ship kind of moves his hand in a sweeping motion, and the ship turns harder. It's now, instead of being sidelong with you, it's about at a 45-degree angle. So you're seeing the side of the berth and the front of it as well.
I think he's gonna ram you.
Uh-oh.
You're about 100 feet from the side of, or from the ship itself. Actually, a little less now that he's turned it. Are you trying to swim right up onto the side of the ship? Because then, again, there's a good 30-foot distance between you and the top of the ship.
No, what I want to do is, I think if I dashed last time, I should be within like 100 feet of it at this point.
Yeah, 100 feet is where you're at, yeah.
What I want to do is, can I tell, is the magic coming from the tubes or from
Yeah.
the person?
Tubes.
I want to dispel magic on the tubes.
You're going to move up 50 feet and cast Dispel Magic on the tube?
Well, actually, I could stay right where I am because it's 120 foot. So, I'd like to hit those tubes
Okay.
that are launching the killer waves.
Yeah,
I'll click it if I can.
that's fine. You cast Dispel Magic, kind of stopping the trip. It seems like it kind of casts over them, but now that the tubes are kind of turning away from you, you're not sure you can't see down the barrels of them. It doesn't look like, you don't know for sure if it took any effect or not.
All right, I don't know if that'll work, but take some shots at them while we're here, and then I'll just kind of keep at 100 feet away.
And you're obviously ready for the crow's nest still, right? On this
Yep.
one? So fires into it and it dissipates. On the ship's turn, he strengthens his grasp and kind of moves his arm in tighter, and the ship does turn to basically face dead on with you. The front end of the mast of the front end of the ship is basically parallel with Malik. Looks like it's not moving, but it does look like it's pointed at you. All right.
I'm gonna wait, and I guess if it's my turn again, right?
Mm-hmm. 100, or, well, actually, closer to like 50 feet away from it now. It seems to have moved a
Okay.
little bit, and it's turning.
What I'm thinking is I'll dive right when it gets, like within 20 feet, go under the water, take my little friend with me, and then come back up when he's about out of air and throw him on top of the ship.
Okay. Doesn't look like the ship's moving at all, and it doesn't look like it's performing any actions.
Nice.
If you're still kind of pointing at the crow's nest and tagging him, then that happens from this distance. But it doesn't look like when he's reforming, he's moving to do anything.
All right.
Great.
Let's go aboard then.
Okay.
You want to do that?
You guys move towards the ship and start to kind of figure out a way to board it. While that's happening, feel free to discuss in the bottom there, like how you plan on boarding it. But I'm going to move over to the other kind of cool kids.
All right.
You've been rowing for a bit, making your way north, kind of heading off in that direction. And I need you guys to decide again who is the navigator and have that person make a wisdom check.
What do you think, Zell?
I think that it should be Hawk. Mostly because this entire time, Zelbor's been singing sea shanties.
Okie doke.
It's
So
appropriate.
not survival, just straight wisdom.
Just straight wisdom because you're on a boat. It's vehicles, water,
Okay.
or navigator
I would like to
tools.
say, I'm on a boat, motherfucker, don't you ever forget.
There we go.
Solid.
Fasting.
You very quickly realize that as you're moving north, up ahead, there appears to be kind of jutting pieces of this strange stone kind of coming up out of the water. And you kind of stop and kind of start paying attention to the water beneath you. And what you can see is underneath this clear blue water, which is cleared up a lot more compared to what you were in before, there appears to be coral and bits of like sea life that are very close to what would be considered the bottom of your ship. And you're pretty sure that if you were to navigate poorly, it might cause the ship to be kind of run aground or torn in a fashion to cause it some problem.
So, Hawk would definitely mention that to Zell and say, hey, do you remember what that drow said about the evils within the coral reef?
Yes.
So, do
I
we
do
see
find-
anything besides coral itself?
There seems to be kind of movement inside of the water, like fish seem to be kind of swimming about in the coral reef. Mostly,
I have a question.
go ahead.
About these rocks. You said they're jutting out of the
They're
water.
not rocks, they're coral.
Oh, they're coral. They're jutting out of the water, though.
A little bit, not a lot. In some places.
Do they potentially look like the tips of teeth, as in a giant sea monster's teeth?
Yeah, really.
Ooh, make a nature check with intelligence or wisdom would be preferred. Yeah, wisdom. Actually, intelligence. You're thinking about it.
So while he's doing that, remembering what the drow said, Hawk would want to steer as far away from the coral as possible.
Let me know what you got.
I got a 19, so not bad.
Pretty good. As you kind of start to observe the area and look around, it doesn't look like teeth on the interior, but on the exterior ring, you start to notice that it does have a certain maw-ish shape to it, for sure.
Yikes.
That's what I was afraid of. Ha. Hawk,
Yes.
what did you say to fighting a large sea creature that might try to kill us?
I would say Dimension Door.
The other thing you notice too, though, sorry, real quick, apologies, is that the light above you was starlight. You do have a sense of kind of starlight. It's almost like it's night from where you're coming from. On the other side of the world, it's day, right? But you do notice that in the center of this whole like weird area, which you think with Hawk's wisdom check he'd be able to navigate to. There's this beam of light coming from the water up above that seems to be kind of hitting at the center point of this circle.
Should we investigate the light?
I guess so, as long as it's not going to bring us more into the coral.
I think it might.
Okay. Yeah, it's in the center of the coral ring, the coral maw.
Okay, but I could navigate it.
You can
properly.
navigate to it without getting like ripped apart by the coral. Yeah, with that
Okay.
17 you got, that's fine.
Ripped apart by the teeth.
So very carefully, Hawk is kind of pushing the oar on his side against it and kind of moving over to yours and investigating, making sure, keep an eye out for this and kind of pointing over the ridge, pushing the coral side that's closest and kind of keeping a tight path towards the center. You get to a point where you're actually now kind of sitting in the center of this pool inside of this coral like reef and the light's shining down on you.
I would like to say Hawk can investigate the light. I'm keeping an eye on the coral around us to see if it's moving in a suspicious manner.
Okay.
That's fine.
There's certainly movement inside of the coral. There's fish and eels and what have you. All sorts of coral life creatures, anemones and what have you. And Hawk, you're kind of looking up at the light coming down. It feels like sunlight. It definitely makes the area feel a bit warmer. And as you kind of take your position and kind of coast in there, and are scouting around looking, Zelbor, the freak out of all freakouts, you see that the coral bits on the edges of the ring start to kind of move up. And you can kind of get this weird groundswell, or rather water swell, as the water seems to kind of bulge outwards.
I grab Hawk and cast a certain 4th level spell.
Where are you casting Dimension Door 2? Because like location-wise, it's just water.
Maybe this is the place we need to be to get sucked down when the giant maw opens up. Maybe
Okay,
this is
I'm
the
going
transportation.
to hold on to him and hold my action to cast Dimension Door in case
Yeah.
stomach acid.
This
Perfectly
isn't one
fine.
of the spells that blows up on you, is it?
Perfectly fine. No, Dimension Door was not one.
Dimension Door
however.
hasn't really blown up on me before.
No. It's if you try to do extra dimensional stuff. Dimension Door is just a movement through this space. But yeah, it does start to come up, and it looks like that the coral is kind of stuck inside of like a beak of some sort, and the beak is massive. It's as big as a cathedral, like on one side, and it's just coming up on both sides and seems to be kind of clamping down around you guys. As it's moving, coral bits are breaking off, fish are kind of like flopping out into the water splashing out from it, and you can see that this coral reef is basically built inside of this huge just beak, and you're in it. Are you staying in it?
Yeah, we're gonna stay in the center in the light.
I would like to say Zelbor has flashbacks to the Kraken asking him for the sword of ultimate or penultimate.
As you're descending down into like the coral, the ship is starting to rip apart, basically being ripped asunder by the coral that was deeper in the water as the water is being splayed out and away, and this maw is coming up around you. You can still see outside, but you can't really see the water line anymore. You've kind of descended down into it enough, and it's kind of risen up that you can't see like the horizon any longer. If you were to Dimension Door, it would be a cast off into just like open space somewhere above the ocean. Just a heads up.
I mean,
but the ship is ripped.
Technically, I can cast it.
Oh, you don't
like,
need to see it. That's right. You don't need to see
I
it.
don't need to see it.
Right. Well, anyways, that said, the ship is ripping up beneath you, and it doesn't look like there's a pathway down, and you're probably just going to be swallowed in with all of this very razor-like material, the coral itself. Your space of time is narrowing, is what I'm trying to note here.
Zell, what do we do? I wanted to stay, but there doesn't seem like anywhere to go to. I think staying is the right idea.
That doesn't work. I don't know what.
Hawk
to
lifts up
do.
his shield to try to shield himself and Zell from the coral.
Bits are coming down as we speak. The main threat right now is the bits that are coming up through the ship, though. But there's small bits that you're kind of deflecting against. Zelbor, you're kind of holding on to Hawk underneath the shield, and as you're taking more time, a heavier rain of coral starts to rain down on Hawk. Hawk, you have shield master. Go ahead and make a dexterity saving throw.
Boy.
Making the tanks roll dexterity saving throws.
I know, right?
It's freaking priceless.
Do you have luck? Or,
I do have many lucks.
Well, you also have yeah,
Indomitable.
resilient.
I have Indomitable. So I've got 3 of those. I'll use that.
Yeah, sure. If you want to reroll.
I do. Gotta get better than 8. Okay, a little bit better.
He kind of moves the shield and blocks, kind of watching out for larger pieces. You guys have not taken any damage yet. But again, your ship is being ripped apart. As it's being twisted in the coral, the mast, or like the figurehead, kind of turns around and looks at you. And it looks like Malik, and he's just smiling as he falls into like the coral and broken bits.
Nice touch.
Yeah.
It's a blue Malik made out of blue stone, and he just falling into the coral.
Hello, friend.
If he could,
yeah.
I think we ought to stay put. Unless you have a better idea.
I really wish Odaluk's resilient sphere could go over 2 people.
I think it just covers a space. If he's close enough to you, it keeps you.
No, it says...
It shuts him out.
Hold on a second. Encloses a creature or object of larger size or smaller within.
He'd be thrown out, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if it said it did create a space, I'd just cast it, but it creates...
Well, if you're that worried and you want to do it around yourself, I would understand. I think it's going to be okay.
I'm going to hold off on it for right now.
Okay. Both of you need to make dexterity saving throws.
Oh, good. I'm actually good at that one.
This one will not benefit from... well, I guess the shield will be fine. All right, Zelvar, good deal. And Hawk, decent enough. As the walls kind of close in, as the beak closes, more coral kind of shapes itself into you, and it becomes like you're inside of a spike trap. So you both succeeded, so you're only taking 22 points of damage as the piercing and crushing starts to
Do I
kind
get
of
to use the Shield Master to have that?
Shield Master, go ahead and click the feat for me real quick. I just need to make sure I know
Sure thing.
how it works.
On a success, I take no damage. I take half on a fail.
I'll let you make a dexterity saving throw for half. Yeah, so you kind of like are getting crushed, but you're like holding your shield like tight enough to your body that you're not really taking any damage.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, I cast Odaluk's resilient sphere.
Basically, it breaks out and kind of pushes the brambles and spikes away from you, and it continues to crunch. In your sphere, kind of like a nice, strange position. You look down, like at where the boat used to be, and you can see that it's just coral and bits with a bit of flesh down below. You seem to be inside of the mouth of a very large reptilian creature, from what you can tell, and it looks like staying. It's just going to end up with you inside of a gullet. A very large gullet, but a gullet nonetheless. Hawk, since you're not inside of a Odaluk's resilient sphere, it's no longer a dexterity saving throw. It's a strength saving throw because the walls are now on you. You're not trying to avoid it. You're just trying to hold against it.
Got it.
Yep, good enough. Still a lot of damage, though. You'll be taking... half will be 17 points of damage. As it basically burdens you with the crushing weight of the coral. And it seems to be kind of churning too. Something about the mouth is kind of causing it to fluctuate and move. Matt, you disconnected.
Yeah, I know. Give me a second.
No, don't disconnect.
I'm not trying to.
Don't do it. I gotta move everything around now.
Oh, you'll be fine. I'll be back in a second.
Fine.
Walk it off.
You get one in every group that has to be different to do his own thing.
I'm sorry, I can't help it that the battery ran out on my laptop.
That sucks.
Plug it in.
That's what I just did.
Nice planning.
I'm sorry, I'm running something on my other laptop, so I had that one plugged in, and I only have one cord right now.
Yeah, something happened with Zoom.
Oh man, how do you survive?
Now it's...
I know.
I don't know what it is, but there's a situation where if somebody leaves, not so much when somebody leaves. When somebody clicks off their camera, it puts them as a leaver.
Oh, I see.
And so it got out of order, and it's gonna
Oh, man.
again.
Don't be a lever, man.
It's fine. Well, the lever always puts you at the end, but Zach and Kevin were switched because Zach had shut off his camera at some point. I'm not saying don't do
So
that.
wait
I'm just saying that's what it happens.
Wait a second, though. You're saying basically, though, that it looks like all that we're going to do is end up in the gullet of some lizard thing.
Oh yeah.
You need to get us out of here now.
Yeah, I dropped Luke's resilient sphere because if I remember correctly, it's concentration. and then
Immediately
I'm just
make a
going to-
dexterity saving throw.
Yay.
Could I grab at him when he drops it?
No.
Shit.
Okay, that's what I did.
You're taking 28 points of piercing and bludgeoning damage.
Okay, with that, I grab Hawk and I would like to dimension Doris 500 feet out of here.
You
back towards
appear-
the sea where we came from.
You appear in the water,
Damn it.
kind of just covered with bits that kind of just start loosening away from you as you kind of enter into the water. Hawk, you're in full plate, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Make an athletics check.
Yay! With my dying breath, I curse Zoidberg!
Huck, it's a 25.
You're able to keep yourself afloat. And Zelwar presumably is not going to have a hard time with Hawk being a buoy effectively. And when you kind of look off to where you just kind of came from, you see that this form is starting to kind of come up out of the water. And it's actually closer than you expect. When it comes up out, you see it's a very large turtle form. Its head is ways away from you, 500 feet.
Oh, shit, I know.
Exactly. But eventually it comes to a point where its shell starts to manifest up out of the water, and you can see that its back is as big as an island. And it starts to kind of just float there in the water. Upon closer inspection, it looks like there's something right on the back of the creature, some sort of city. And it seems to kind of be moving just idly so that the point of light is streaming towards kind of the center of where that city is on its back. All right.
Damn it.
Cut from you guys and go back to Ice Riders.
Ice Riders.
Hopefully Matt can get his camera situation fixed. Looks so,
Working on it.
it looks so ugly right now. My stream looks so ugly.
Quit your whining.
Yeah, he didn't help it when he cut his hair either. Got rid of those lovely locks.
I think it looks great. All right, nice. Oh wait, I see a mistake. I need to get.
It's a story.
I need to get like a
Man named
producer.
Brady.
Say it.
Once I get famous
Who was
enough.
bringing up 3 boys of his own. I don't know how all those song goes, but something like that.
Someone else can do this.
4 men living all together, but they were all alone.
Okay, perfect. So you guys are moving up to the ship, and I didn't pay attention to the chat, but did you discuss how you were getting onto the ship? It's 30 feet up.
I was gonna try to go from underwater and launch him up, kind of like, like Shamu does with the divers.
Okay.
It kind of comes up out of the water, and they jump right off.
Strength athletics checks.
Oh, is that what you meant by the standard maritime way? Not dicks
That's
rock hard and guns ablazing? Like I suggested. That's
You
fair.
can poke him.
No, it's fine.
When you get on board.
Let's
Okay.
do this thing.
So if that's the case, Malik, go ahead and make me a strength athletics check, and Boo, make either a strength athletics or dexterity acrobatics check.
I was born for this shit, boo.
He was born this way.
That's right.
Can I make a dexterity athletics check?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. What's happening?
I don't know.
I don't know, you're froze up
you're
on
frozen in the
camera.
camera.
Baby, he
I
was
think
born
I
this
think
way.
it's foreseeing the future.
Haha.
All
Yes.
right. So
You kicked it.
you hold on to Malik and kind of close yourself in tight as he descends 50 feet underwater. And then he ascends 50 feet dashing straight up. He ascends about 20 feet up out of the water, And once he's made it to that point, you kind of leap off of him and do a backflip and land onto the deck of the ship. The second your feet touch the water, or touch the ship, the water on your body starts to become frozen very suddenly. Make a dexterity saving throw. Good enough. You manage to kind of move off of the ship. It does seem to kind of be trying to keep you like locked in place. And it also seems to be kind of slippery and causing you to slip a bit. If you were to stand or try to move too fast, it would knock you off. As you're standing on the ship and kind of moving, possibly heading back off the edge, you see that the guy on the front of the ship kind of looks to you and closes his hand, and you can see that the ice around your feet starts to close up. But you have made your dexterity saving throw, so you can avoid being grappled or being restrained by his icy grasp.
I would like to do so.
Okay.
How far away from him am I?
40 feet.
Okay.
Or
Do I see the guy?
You leaped up onto the front of the ship, so maybe 10 or 15 feet.
And where's the guy who dropped below the side? Can I see him?
If you very quickly look, you see that there's a dead body with an arrow stuck in his back, covered in ice.
Fuck yeah. Small smile appears on Boo's face. 10 or 15 feet away from this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just jump at him and tackle him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Fuck yeah.
As you get within 5 feet and attempt to attack him, go ahead and make a... Well, no. No. You kind of hit like this cold barrier, this strange force field around him, because you are effectively making an attack against him. And you watch as your hands that you were going to try and push him with are held in place and start to freeze over. Make a Constitution saving throw.
God damn.
Okay. You'll take
Nice.
18 points of cold damage. And I presume you're not going to stick around for the effect to restrain you in place or petrify you.
You said 15?
15 points of damage, yeah.
Yeah, nah, that doesn't seem like my best course of action. Thank you, though.
So you're going to try and dart for the edge of the ship and jump off?
Can I also try and throw the net over his head?
The net...
Does that also freeze
So
and get
you
chucked at?
try and tackle him, your hands get frozen. You try and throw a
God damn
net,
it.
and you're trying to keep at him, and you throw the net freezes and breaks around him. And as you kind of realize that you've been kind of trying to invest in these actions, pulling ropes and such, you realize that your feet have become completely solidified on the ground, on the deck of the ship. And he looks at you and closes his hand, and he says, "You will be the new captain of the ship." And as he says that, he reaches forward and places his finger on your chest, and ice starts to cover your entire body.
Oh no.
We're gonna cut back to the other people real quick.
Oh, darn it.
Find Davy Jones' heart.
So you guys see the Zarutan appear on the water, and there's now an island set out before you, and there seems to be it stops so that there's a sun light from the sky shining directly on its back.
Is there still coral in the water?
Oh yeah, all over the place. It looks like well, I mean to say, it doesn't look like there's a coral reef. It looks like there's the remnants of a coral
Bits
reef
of
being
coral,
broken
sure.
up inside the mouth of a thing. Again, the span of that thing's mouth was probably about like 800 feet.
Sure. Is it possible for Hawk and Zell to swim for it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, with the athletic check you guys made prior to us switching scenes, you're able to kind of ride up to it and kind of get onto the island if you'd like. And its shell seems to have a very coastal looking bit to it. The sand, though, isn't like a beach like on an ocean. It's more of that kind of just like packed dirt that you would find more at like a creek or something, with bits of rock and such in it. Very solid and sturdy. You can kind of break it apart with your foot if you kick at it, but it looks like it's basically been kind of cast onto it. But yeah.
I'm not going to break it apart with my foot. I don't want to get this thing mad.
Okay.
So we'd sort of head towards you said there's a city or a town.
A city, yeah.
I start breaking it apart with my foot.
Don't do that, you jerk.
Sand breaks at the sheer force of your foot's power. All right, and at that, we'll go ahead and cut to the scene. It does look like there's a path leading up the beach that kind of leads up to the city. It looks like there's a number of them all throughout the side of the side that you picked, or the side that
Does
was
it appear
Victoria.
traveled at all? It was just underwater.
No, it does look like it does look like it has been underwater, and a lot of the there's vegetation on its back. It does look like it's coral and such that's now been kind of brought to light out of the water. Bits of seaweed that are kind of now hanging in these strange, almost tropical plant-like fashion, but everything does look like it's from below the sea.
Sure, I think we should take the path, and I'll ask Zell along the way if he's familiar with this kind of creature.
Yes, it's a giant fucking turtle.
Oh, well, John called this something else out of character, so yeah.
All right.
I don't know how much I know about turtles or sea things. I mostly keep track of like stories of adventurers.
Perfectly fine if you don't want to think about it. You guys walk up the path and see that the city itself is kind of just a lot of broken stone walls. It seems to be more of a ruins really than anything else, but it does look like it's of an older style, the stone that's remained. And it looks like there are a number of aqueducts that are built up and around the area that are splaying water out from it being risen up out of the water. It looks like the water is being kind of funneled off towards the back of the city, or rather the back of the creature. And it looks like, other than that, the city appears very quiet and very deserted. But it does look like there is a series of paths that lead towards the sunlight in the center of the city. Maybe a 20 or so minute walk.
Okay,
Gotcha.
Okay.
do that.
You guys walk without being attacked or anything by any kind of strange creatures. But when you get towards the center of the city, you do see that there are a total of 3 individuals sitting in kind of a meditative, the lotus position, a meditative position in the center of the city, kind of raising their hands up to the sun. Their garb is just covered with just a mess of things from underneath the water, like they've been sitting here for a long time, like before it was came up to the surface. And it looks like the people underneath are completely withered and like dried to a point that they're solid, but they're of course glistening with water. It looks like they were perhaps mummified before being cast into the water, or not mummified rather, but desiccated before being cast into the water. But they are raising their hands, and they seem to be kind of moving their mouths in a silent mantra.
So they're mummified, and they're
Not mummified, like desiccated. Like they're not wrapped or anything. They're basically just solid, dead, dried, and then covered with water because they were underwater.
Okay.
I would basically want to. I'm just going to look at Hawk and say, give me about like 10 minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'd like to ritual cast.
Yeah. Very quickly on, you'll note that they aren't really speaking. They are moving their mouths, but there's no spoken language. However,
Gotcha, so they're not actually saying.
as you're kind of like standing there and moving closer to hear them, you look down at the ground and see that in front of each one of them, there are tablets with these strange runic markings on them. Very ancient kind of, well, not really runes, you start to notice. They look more like glyphs, like pictures that have been drawn out. But it does appear to be a language, so your spells still can work here.
Woo! Comprehend languages, bitches!
Okay.
Your spells do not work here.
Once you've
Yes, they do.
completed the spell, you read that each one of them just has a very short notice here. There's one that's kind of at position-wise. There's one that's kind of at the head, which behind him on the horizon of the city, you can see the head of the large thing that you're on, kind of rising up out of the over the skyline. And his tablet says to the north, to the eye, to where the crown lies, through the kelp field, through the dragon. And that's it. That's all it says. Then there's one that's kind of off to his side, kind of southwesterly. And it says, from the Sunlight City to the Towers of Ice. That's all it says. And then the last one, deep within the city to the bowels of name, you think, and you're trying to kind of work out the pronunciation of it, ship.
So do we think that these are like direction markers?
And
I'm not
Ooh,
pronunciation-wise, Karazak Anastur is the name that's put before you. Karazak Anastur's ship.
Okay. Sorry, I just opened my notes. Can you?
I typed it out.
Or oh, you typed it out.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Well, yeah, no, I was meaning just the three things that were.
Oh, got it.
On there. I just want to.
Sure.
I want to
Sure.
make sure I have them.
The first one was the one that was on the northern side. It said where the crown lies, beyond the kelp field, beyond the dragon, is what that said. And then
Yeah.
what
I got it too. Yeah, from
Okay.
the Sunlight City to Towers of Ice.
is the
and
next one, and then the last one is the ice ship one.
deep within the city to the bowels of whatever that name is, ship.
Karazak Anastur.
That.
And as you're kind of standing there in the sunlight, you also notice that behind them there are paths, and you kind of came up one of those paths that led up behind the one that's the Karazak store ship one.
Oh, I'm sorry, we came up that path?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. Huh.
Hawk thinks aloud that any place that leads to a dragon is probably not the best place to go first.
I was thinking it might be better to go to the Sunlit City, to the
Yes.
Towers of Ice.
Yes.
It said from the sunlit city to the Towers of Ice.
That's fine.
Yes.
So the south.
Southeastern, yeah.
Okay.
Or southwestern. Southwestern. Okay, so you guys start to head down that
Why
path.
Southwestern?
You guys start to head down that path. All right. We're gonna cut back to fun times.
I would like to do something.
Yep. What would you like to do? Again, you don't know what's happening on the deck of the ship, but what are you doing?
Oh yeah, I couldn't see him up there.
It's 30 feet up, and he's
But
not on.
it's not very far.
He's not on the.
Looking.
He's not on the edge of the ship. He's again 15
He's
feet.
in there.
He's like 5
Son
feet
of a
away,
bitch.
and yeah.
I thought I could see him. All
Yeah.
right, you're screwed. Boo. No, what I would do
I know.
is, I can't see him at all. Then, right?
Not really, no. But you know he's up there, and you're pretty sure there's something happening up there.
Yeah, son of a
You
bitch.
saw a net get cast and like break into ice bits. I mean, there's something happening.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm gonna go down 50 feet.
Swim away.
Try to jump up. You know, try
Make-
to do the same sort of thing.
Make a strength athletics check.
I had a much better idea. A thing I could have done if you were on the edge. All right, let's see. Strength, athletics.
Mhm.
Athletics. Doo-doo-doo. Yeah. It's
Okay.
not too bad.
You get about 20 feet up, and you manage to catch onto the side of the ship, and you start to climb. You,
Can I see him?
You still have a fishtail. And you're about.
It takes an action, I believe, to
Yep.
turn that. So could I do move and then action and turn
Well,
it
your
back
move
now?
was descend, and then your next move was
Ah.
shoot up and jump. But
You're
if
right.
you're losing the fishtail and climbing, what you'll start to notice is that your hands are slowly becoming bound to the ship as they start to freeze over. Do you wish to
Guess
hold on to the ship, or do you wish to drop
I'm
back off?
resistant to cold damage.
So
So,
you're
does
ta-
it not freeze as much?
You're taking it. Okay, cool. That's fine.
I
You
take it like a fish.
you start to kind of pull yourself up.
Like a fish.
Um,
I stay
and
fresh longer now.
I say make a strength saving throw.
Have that
Alright.
fishy smell.
Yeah, and without the fishy smell. Strength saving throw. Let's do this. There you go.
Okay, great. So you're pulling yourself up, and you're coming up over the railing. I'll get to you here in a second. That's not happened yet. Touches your chest. Ice starts to cover your body.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does that help at all?
The-
Probably not, but I have to ask.
The amulet of penultimate truth. In this case,
Truest form. Additionally, you are immune to effects that would change your
you're not being shape changed.
Okay, all right. I'm just making.
What?
It's stretch. It's stretch.
Good question.
I got to throw some out. I asked the question. I can feel better about dying now. Let's do this.
Well, what you realize is that once he pressed his finger on your chest, your arm or your body becomes covered with ice, and you kind of freak out about it. And then the next thing you know, you're in this gleaming white armor. It's just completely gleaming white. It's so shiny. It's like look at this. That's how bright that shit is. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
Like
understand.
Armor, man.
You're glowing. Malik is starting to pull himself onto the ship, and the guy kind of moves his finger away from your chest. And Malik, you kind of see the ice like forming up on your foot, and he looks to you, and then he looks to Boo, and he says to Boo, "Is he with you?"
Yes.
And he kind of pushes his hand down, and the ice seems to move away from his feet. And then he looks back to you, and he says, "We must go to the towers of ice. Take your place at at the wheel."
Who's he pointing to? Him or me?
He says to Boo. He just turned. He said, "Someone needs to pilot the ship, and you
All
killed my last pilot, so drive, bitch."
Don't see a whole lot of options. I go to helm the
OJT.
wheel. Oh man.
All right, so you're walking, and you're in this crazy white armor. You feel like it's very light, like lighter than mithril. Like it's crazy light. It does have a certain coldness to it, of course, but it seems to kind of cover over. Like it's not over your armor or over your normal clothing. It seems to kind of form so that your normal clothing is a part of the armor. Like it melded with the armor you're wearing and the clothing you're wearing. But it feels comfortable enough, and you walk over to the wheel of the ship.
I mean, does Mel have any objection to going to the fucking like ice tower? Do we have a direction right now? I felt like we're looking
Would
for.
I have heard of that in history or religion or anything?
Not particularly. It doesn't sound familiar.
It kind of sounds cool though.
If you're kind of like thinking about which direction
Yeah.
you're going, you look up and you see that the crow's nest guy has manifested since the last time you blew him away, and he's pointing to this random direction, which seems to be opposite the direction the ship is currently pointing.
Do we see anybody else on the horizon or anywhere?
Not so much.
Not so
Yeah,
much.
then we go that way. Fuck it. Like, there ain't nothing better. Like, we were looking for an arrow. It just pointed. Like, we might as well follow it.
All right. If you get to the wheel of the ship, what you quickly find out is when you touch the wheel of the ship, it kind of draws on your essence and kind of pulls at you. But what you're also realizing is that you're perfectly equipped for this, in that you feel like it's drawing from you, specifically drawing from your curse, and you see the sails start to fill, breaking a bit from the ice, and You're able to turn the wheel and move the ship in the direction. As you do so, the guy on the crow's nest is pointing like perfectly, and from your position on the poop deck at the wheel, you're able to look directly up at him and see him perfectly enough to which direction he's pointing. You do not need to make a crazy check because you're basically on autopilot, and the wind pushes the ship off. All right, cutting back to the.
Sure, Mel sees me and gets a little jealous.
We go back to the other side. You move down the path, and when you get down to the edge of the path, like the end of the path, you hear a voice come after you from up above. Wait! And as you kind of turn back and look, you see that the guy who was chanting, kind of voicelessly, has basically started to rasp out of his undead throat. Wait! Wait!
Should we wait? He seems to want us to wait. What?
He's kind of stumbling after you. It looks like his movement is not very fast. He's a good 20 or 15 or so feet away from you guys, and closing at a pace of 1 foot per round.
Hawk, I'm leaving this one up to you. Should we wait or should we just kill?
Wait.
Hawkwood, sort of ready, like ready in action. He'd wait there and ready in action so that if he's attacked, he would attack first.
He gets real close, like within 5 feet or so of you guys. Kind of stops. You cannot go. You, and points at Zelbor, cannot go.
Is it the fire and ice thing?
Why?
You are not welcome in the towers.
Okay, that's...
Racist.
I feel like that's something as a society we've gotten past for the most part. At least I would hope so.
He seems to be from a different time.
Son of a bitch, he's grandpa, isn't he?
Oh,
He's from
that uncle.
He's from an ancient time. No.
Ah, he's racist Uncle Joe.
Oh.
He kind of stumbles towards you and kind of tries to place a hand on you, kind of touch you. Do you allow him to do so or not?
I allow him to do so with the predisposition that if it hurts, I get this wonderful thing called a fireball off on him.
He places his hand on your chest, and when he does so, you kind of feel a warmth kind of like spring up inside of your chest. And he says, The towers have restless stories that are not for you. They are for your older brother. You are not allowed. And if you go, you will ruin them.
Okay, this is honestly like, why is it that everyone criticizes a bard when they just embellish?
As he kind of says that, you see his hands start to kind of ignite in flame, and he kind of looks at it like in horror. Oh! And his hand just goes up, and his whole body just quickly is overtaken by flame. Oh! And he falls back and starts becoming ash on the ground.
Second of all, I don't have an older brother as far as I know. And now you're dust.
I wanted to remember what he said. The towers are not for you. They're for your older brother.
The stories within are for your older brother.
The stories within it.
I mean, I was an only child. I think I'd know if I had an older brother.
Is it possible that the four of us are brothers and we don't know it?
Well, I mean, I imagine the curse might be something like that. But
Yes.
You recall that Sindus Gray was the youngest sibling of 4.
Yeah.
So if we are the aspects of them, yes, yes.
Right, that's
So
kind of
maybe
what I was figuring.
Your older brothers in that relation would be Devunray and Gavilis, and your older sister would be Aloria.
Right.
So
well,
maybe
I
they
mean-
don't want us to get there first. Maybe getting there first is a problem.
Well, maybe me getting that all is a problem. I mean, there's been weird, funky things with all the other ones where some of us are allowed to go certain areas and others aren't.
Well,
So-
let's at least start and see what happens. We'll make a choice when they get closer.
Well, I mean, what if it's one of those things where if I go there, like, this whole water world explodes and brings down, like, a major movie company or something like that?
Yeah, that could be.
Secret.
Exactly how MGM Studios.
Secretly, the island turtle was like, what's the asshole who was a real jerk to women? It is in the
Weinstein.
movie. Yeah,
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein.
the turtle's a Weinstein. It's been messing around with smaller turtles. And,
Oh no, no more Dimension films.
So, Zell, do you think instead we should go the way that we don't want to go that leads to the dragon?
Well, we could do that, or we could, like, before we do that, we could take this thing called, I believe it's called a short rest, and I can play the song, and we can regain these things, which I believe are called hit points.
I think that's an excellent
so
idea.
that I do
My
not
mind is
have
exploding.
many of left.
You guys take a rest. We cut back to the ship. As you're
I'm going to roll some hit dice.
Sure. As you're sailing along, you can see that rising up out of the water are these three bright white, gleaming like your armor towers. And again, on your guys' side, to them it's nighttime with a small bit of sunlight on the island. To you guys, it is completely beautiful day. And you're riding up on these towers. And as you approach, you see that there's this darkness kind of in between all three of them. But you also notice that there are balconies around the edges on the outsides of them that seem to be capable for you to kind of come up to with a smaller ship. You're not sure that the larger ship would be able to get to it. And once it arrives there, the person at the front of the ship kind of turns back at you and says, "Stop the ship. Drop anchor."
I do. How can I do that? Do I know how to do that?
He just doesn't really seem to reply, but you can make make a vehicle's water check with wisdom. If you don't have vehicle water, just a wisdom check. And if Malik is helping, you can do so with advantage, or the both of you can make a wisdom check, and whoever gets the highest can be the guy.
What do you want to do, bud?
I already rolled the wisdom
You
check.
already rolled it. That's fine. 14's okay.
You can also roll one if you would like to.
Yeah. You can either roll it with advantage or, yeah.
Oh, geez, that's horrible.
Okay.
You did better than I did.
Eventually you find that there is indeed an anchor, and you, after a good long time, cast it off of the ship, and it descends into the icy depths. Icy because the ship seems to be kind of chilling the water around you.
Is it an ice anchor?
It was a solid steel anchor, but it was covered with ice.
Aha.
The ship isn't solid ice; it's just covered with it. Once the ship kind of stops in its position, it takes quite some time to do it. The individual kind of walks over to you, and he looks to you, Boo, and he says, "Enter into whichever tower you so please, but understand, the stories within are for me and me alone. Do not read a word of them." And he looks to Malik, and then he looks back to you. "And do not let him read a word of them, they are mine."
Well, who are you?
"Who are you to ask?"
I am Malik.
He looks back to
Nice to
you,
meet you.
Boo. Silence your sailor."
I'm assuming one look from me to Malik will shut him up. But I'm like really hoping. I don't know if you want a fucking charisma check from across the fucking room, but like I'm giving you one of those. you fucker.
If this guy is good or evil, could I do like a check using my chalice to influence him? I get advantage if he's good and I'm influencing him, persuading him, and I get an advantage if he's evil and I'm intimidating him.
You make the intimidation check, and then if they're good or whatever, I decide if it. That's why I make you roll double dice, because then I can say advantage or disadvantage.
All right. Well, what I will do is I'm gonna try to talk like nice to him. I don't think the guy's evil. But
Do you pull out the chalice?
Yeah, I thought I always was affected by it.
I know, but are you just using its ability, or you're actually pulling it out to use it? Because I think for some abilities you have to actually have it out to use it.
Oh shit.
Just. Do you have a You should have a.
I have a handout. I mean, I'll plop it.
Okay.
I think if I click this, will it plop up there?
Should do.
Maybe not. Son of a bitch. Well, how about I just...
If it's a passive, you have advantage for these checks, then just go ahead and make the check. But
I think it is, but I'll have to go look.
Yeah.
I'll just make a check, and then I'll check as I'm...
Sure.
So, hang on 1 second.
You start to talk to him, and he looks to Boo, and Boo looks to you, and Boo is basically saying, like with his eyes, and his just raw booiness, that shut the fuck up, dude. You make me look.
It's that halo that's within 10 feet of me.
Right,
so
right.
So yeah, it would affect him, but I didn't do a good enough job.
Okay.
So then I would say, all right, fine.
He looks to you and he says, "Go." And as he says that, you hear chains start clicking, clanking, and ice breaking off of them as one of the cast-off ships, like one of the smaller ships, starts to descend slowly down the side of the ship. You're pretty sure that you want to make it over there to get on it to descend it.
Let's do it.
It breaks free from the chains, and you can kind of row it over to the landing. There are 3 towers. Basically, it's one on the south and 2 on the northern sides, forming a triangle around this black patch in the center of them. Which of the towers do you want to enter first?
Exactly the same, or is like one bigger and one shorter? And
South one is the shortest, and then northeastern, next tallest, northwestern, highest.
what do you think? Want to go from shortest to tallest? Sounds like it could be logical. Boo.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Would I know anything?
Really seems arbitrary.
Yeah, it kind of seems arbitrary.
You would notice that the construction of these towers is very similar to the towers of the merfolk that they have in the center of their cities, where they had the music on the interior and the sages at the top. It's very similar to that.
So in
Except
that
not
case-
underwater, it's out of the water.
Yeah. If this were a merfolk area, like what would be most important? Would it be the tallest?
There would only be
tallest?
one tower. There wouldn't be 3.
Damn it! That's the 3's messing me up. All right, let's go to the short one first. We'll go south.
When you enter into the short one, you hear this very loud series of bellows, which is kind of almost like a. I'm bad at music talk, but operatic, like in operas, like the people who have a very deep voice.
Baritone.
Baritone, is that it?
Yeah.
Zach's the music guy. What do you know?
I know nothing.
Lies.
Shit.
Make me sound smart. Tell me what I'm looking for.
Oh, bass, man.
Bass.
That count is fine.
Yeah.
Bass is the lowest.
It's very.
Contra bass is those like really fucking. The like low.
I'm talking.
Contra bass like.
It has to be.
It's fucking cool.
It'd have to be that then, because it is like deep bass. Like it's hard on the body even at some stages, but the entire chamber is not like filled with water, but you start to notice that, like, Boo, your hair kind of moves as if it were underwater. So did the clothing bits that are out of your ice armor. And Malik, you feel very at home, even though you're breathing oxygen, not water. Up above you, you see a form coming down with a glowing light behind its head, and as it gets closer to you, you notice that the glowing portion of the head tail is the tip of the head tail, as a young merfolk woman descends down atop you, who appears to be a wayfinder.
Oh shit, it's not the one that died in my arms, is it?
No.
Thank goodness. Because she just died in my arms
She-
that night.
She is wearing very regal-looking attire for Wayfarer, like some sort of very venerable one, and she has all sorts of crowns and pieces on her that are very ornate looking. And as she kind of descends down to you, the baritone or the contrabass, like kind of just
Basso Profundo.
basso
Rush
profundo.
it.
Nice.
Click the YouTube link in the
I-
chat. It's skip to like 20 seconds and take like 5 seconds. I highly.
I can't right now because I'm streaming.
I
It
wish
would
you
play
could.
it, and I know it's probably copyrighted, so I can't do it.
I
But-
highly doubt this
Can you, like,
piece
do a
from
radio
the
thing?
18th. No,
Can you just pretend? Like,
No.
whoa.
no. Click, just
I
just
can't-
click the link.
I can't right
think-
now. But I think I
Letting
know
you
where we're
know.
at. But anywho,
You know you want to. All right.
do
So
it.
what Malik would do when he sees her is he
Well-
would like bow to her like he would a prince or a king or something, prince or somebody important in the Merfolk society.
Right, the bass sound just becomes mute, and basically the way it ends kind of sucks the oxygen out of the room. It basically causes the ears to almost pop as it goes from like to nothing. And she kind of speaks with a more melodious voice. She says, "Do you wish to return to the ice ship? Do you wish
No.
to return to the master of that ship?
Not right now, thank you.
Are you servants of Karazak Kanastur?"
No, we are not servants.
She looks to Boo. "You wear the armor of the servants of Karazak Kanastur."
Yeah, we didn't really agree to anything, but he did kind of tell me to do stuff, and then I did it. So I suppose it really just depends on how you define servant.
"You wear the armor of the servant of Karazak Kanastur."
Right then. Problem solved. We have a solution. I guess I'm a servant.
Do you wish
What do we do next?
do you wish to return to the ship?
Why?
Oh, we're trying to find something here, right?
What
What do you seek?
do we seek?
What do we seek? Holy crap. Give me a second to think about this.
Oh man, you said the wrong two guys on the
Sword of
duo.
ultimate sorcery, the sword of ultimate sorcery.
Is that what we're looking for? Sword of
what I
ultimate
thought.
sorcery?
I would say we are looking for the sword of ultimate sorcery, but we would like to end this curse upon us that me and my friends, this is my friend here, but I have a couple other friends, and we're looking to end this curse. I have the
Sweet.
curse of Tovesh Nernan.
She says, "Of the sword of ultimate sorcery, I have nothing besides stories. During the time of trials that was beset upon the kin of Tovesh Nernon during his defiance against the god Varhuin, the lieutenant of the second oldest child, Devonray, came to this world and made it ready for him. Unfortunately, once it was made ready, it would seem the lieutenant of the master was not forging a world of safety, but rather a prison. I tell you this because you serve the lieutenant, You serve he who can ride the waves all the way across this world to any place, so long as you can make him willing to do so. Do you wish to return to the ice ship now?
What is in the other towers? We may want to explore those. And then can we come back to you and return to the ship?
The towers outside were made, if there are towers outside, they were made after this tower was forged.
What do you think, Boo?
Kill them all.
No. All right. We will be back.
Yeah.
Okay. If you
We're
guys
gonna go look at the other towers.
are heading out, you're going to the second largest or the largest? Okay, second
I
largest.
think, no, hearing that the smallest is the oldest, I think we should skip to the largest and find out if it's the newest.
But what about the one in the middle then?
We'll figure it out later.
All right. That's cool.
The middle one seems the boringest.
I mean,
Alright,
to be
let's go
fair,
to the big
nobody
one.
likes the middle child.
Fuck yeah.
What? I'm a freaking
Okay.
middle child.
Me too, Kevin.
Everybody loves the middle
I'm a
child.
middle
They
child.
love everything
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. Nobody wanted to say it. It's been
Uh,
out there. We can all
Yeah.
accept it.
True,
Sons of
sorry.
bitches. Doesn't make this
Fine.
personal, though.
Ruthless.
All right,
Ruthless!
We'll go to the big one. We'll go to the big one. I'm with you on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll cut from you guys. We'll go back to the other two. You guys are standing on the shore with the ash of the dead sage there on the ground near you. It does look like whatever was inside of you caused him to ignite into fire. Or perhaps he has an allergic reaction that's very racist to tieflings.
I mean, honestly, this whole campaign, I've just felt it so much.
I love tieflings.
Oh, they're my favorite.
Agreed. Did my stream die?
Anyway, this whole campaign. Did your
Oh
stream
no,
die?
it's fine.
Okay.
I'm silly. Do you wish to go back to the center and find a different path, or do you wish to continue down this path?
Well, they said it wasn't for me, and so far we've seemed to have found that generally there are some paths that, are not for all of us. So, I mean, part of me is inclined to agree just because we need to figure out whatever the crap's going on here to get stuff done, and I don't want to F that up.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think probably the safest thing would be for me not to go that way, even though they said that there's stories, and I love stories. That's like,
That's my thing.
yeah, that's my thing. I'm a bard. I mean, damn it, come on, man. What do you think I'm going to do? I story.
So you
I
said
don't learn stories, I just story, period.
that's what I do. It's not learning stories. It's not telling stories. It's storying. You go back up to the sages. There's now only two, and the stone that he left behind is still just sitting there in the dirt. Well, wet mud, really. You have two other paths. The other options were something about some sort of ship, and the other one was something about kelp field and a dragon
Right.
to
So,
the north.
we don't have to go all the way to the dragon, I feel like, but I'm kind of inclined to head that way and at least maybe scope it out.
Okay.
All right. You guys head up that path, and it seems that you're kind of descending down the shell, but moving kind of up at a point of the shell where it kind of looks like it's at the back of the neck of this massive turtle. It looks like there's a series of scales on the neck of the turtle that form steps up to a flat plateau on the head of the turtle. And you can see that it seems that stones and such have been arranged on the top to make for a comfortable meeting place, like at the summit of a hill or something. But it looks like you'll have to ascend the turtle's neck onto the top of its head.
Does that appear to be difficult?
No, not terribly. No, it looks like it's actually, I mean, again, the turtle's neck is like hundreds of feet wide. Like hundreds of feet wide. It's a pretty massive feast.
Yeah.
I bow, point forward, and say, "Age before exceptional beauty."
Yes, of course. Then Hawk starts. He doesn't even bother fighting it. He just walks. He just goes.
Used to it by now. All right, you get up to the top
He's
of the turtle.
learned the truth.
The two of you get up to the top of the head of the turtle, and it does look like there are places to sit and relax if need be. It is a bit of a hike, but it's not like, it's just tedious and time consuming. It's not so much difficult. But once you arrive up there, you feel kind of a quake in the ground beneath you, and then you hear, "Who are you?" And cut back to the other people. As you guys are walking, or moving the boat to the other side, you hear from some great distance, "Who are you?" Understanding that the voice that the turtle's making is so loud, it's audible across the plain.
Cool story, bruh.
But you're in a unique position close to it, that it's going down, so you're hearing it kind of rise up around you. It's not booming into your ears or anything. It's not crazy. But yeah, it asks, "Who are you?" Oh, no. Snap back to them. Sorry.
Okay.
I just wanted to make
You guys
sure.
are just staying there. I'm Boo!
No, that's where Boo looks at Mel and says, that one for us, right? Nah. Alright.
You know,
Alright.
it couldn't have been.
That was weird, though. Cuts back.
Who am I? Now I'm asking myself. But anyways, it asks, "Who are you?"
I'm Zelbor.
And I'm Hawk, and we seek to lift the curse of who? Derlathoth?
It depends on which one of us you're asking.
Yeah.
Mine's Cindus Gray, so
You sound like you are on a quest. Again, you guys can hear it on the other side as well.
To seek the Holy Grail.
This is where I
No,
reign.
yellow. Ah!
This is where I live. But I am so hungry. The coral takes forever to grow within my mouth and does not sustain me as I would please. If only I had kelp. Rich, delicious kelp.
ahead.
I remember in my youth fields of kelp. I was so small then. I could swim about the kelp, and I was happy. But then they raised me. They built upon my shell. They made me live in the coral where they were safe. But then he came, and I left in fear. I have remained ever since until you have come, underneath the waves, waiting for coral to grow to sustain me. But I would die happy if I had kelp in my belly.
We're told that to the north, to the eye, to where the crown lies, there's a kelp field.
Where is the north? Point the direction. And as you kind of hear him say that, he kind of leans a little bit, the head leaning a little bit. It doesn't cause you to fall or anything, but you can see that his eyes kind of peeking around like the corner of his head, kind of trying to look at you.
I just sort of look over at Hawk and well, I tell him, but I kept forgetting.
No. So Hawk would point to the north.
This
Okay.
is where that 1 feet would come in perfect because we'd always know where north is.
The massive turtle, as you point, and it says in reply, "Towards that black bar in the sky."
Yeah, Hawk would say, yeah, towards us there.
Oh, great. And it starts to go. it moves, and it kind of like it at first it's like whoa, and then it's like okay, all right, this is cool, and it continues like just swimming in that direction. It at first it seems like yeah, and it's moving pretty fast, but then it starts to slow down, possibly the age of it settling in. But after the course of about 10 or 15 minutes, you hear it laboring. Oh, I can smell it. I can smell the fields. I cannot wait. And it keeps on just heading in that direction. Eventually, looking down from the top of it, like as it splashes through the waves, you can see that the water that was kind of like a dark blue in the night sky, you can see that it's a deep green, and it looks like it's moving differently than water should. As it kind of hits that portion of the water, it kind of just starts to slow down, and you realize that its entire form takes up the kelp field that was ahead of you, that would have been barring you if you were to continue on by a normal
Nice.
ship.
Unfortunately, it died and was only 2 days from retirement, too.
The other thing that you note is that beyond the kelp field, the water beyond it appears to be completely just flat. Like there's no movement, even when like the water should be kind of brushing off of like the movement of this large turtle and splashing about. On the north side, there's no movement to the water. It's completely flat, and it also seems to be reflecting the sky from above perfectly, like a mirror. All right. And at this vantage point too, with it where it is, you can pretty much leave it off the top of its head or off of the sides of its body and kind of make your way over in that direction as you please. But I'll leave that for you guys deciding. Discuss amongst yourselves on the side if you want to, like what your next plan of action is. But back to you. Some voices are heard across the way. Strange. But you move towards the largest tower, correct?
Yes, that was what we decided.
All right. You enter into the tower. The second you do, you see that the door behind you freezes completely over. Make a dexterity saving throw, the two of you.
Dex saving throws.
Yep. And
You
Zach.
can do it.
Okay. Zach, you fall prone and kind of slip a little bit as it feels like the tower.
Wait, did I fail that? Because I got Indomitable, man.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, roll
Can
it
I do
again.
that?
Six,
Yeah,
too.
roll it again.
You get +6 for my.
Yeah, no,
You get
sorry.
+6 'cause
Plus
my-
six will do it. Don't spend the Indomitable.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
don't
forgot
spend
about.
it.
Alright.
Oh wait.
Cool.
Sorry. Hold on.
Doesn't it?
Spend the Indomitable, but we'll discuss here in a second. You kind of hold your footing and kind of try and keep yourself grounded as it feels like the tower itself is falling away from you. And you're inside of it, so you're kind of trying to keep yourself down against a wall, so you kind of create, like the ground becomes the wall that you were looking at. As you start to try and like save yourself, you see that the aura of protection from Malik kind of rises up and around you, but it causes that same effect that happened to you when you were out on the water, and you are basically vaulted 50 feet down the chute, up the tower, but as the tower is kind of descending. So you're 50 feet away from him, and kind of splayed out on the ice of the tower's surface, or interior rather, and you come close to this form, and the sound that basically rings throughout the entire chamber is it feels like the top of the tower kind of hits and cascades a sound of like rushing water through, like, the best way to describe it is if you're familiar with a glass harmonica. Are you? Yeah, it's like that being kind of like straight through the entirety of this ice tower, and it kind of resonates through you. And this form kind of is standing there, floating rather, up above you. It appears to be another merfolk, this one gluttonous and kind of wearing these just loose manta ray skins as a robe about it. And it kind of descends towards you. As the tinkling sound of the the tower falling into place on the water ends, you hear his voice more booming, say, "Who are you?"
Is he talking specifically to me? Or
You can't hear him. Only Boo can, because he's 50 feet,
Boo
or
can.
50 or so feet away.
Name's Boo. You are?
Not familiar with you. What are
Yeah.
you? What have you done to my tower?
I just walked in to say hello. Door was open.
Duvanre, it says out loud. It seems to be addressing Malik at the
that
base
would
of the
be
tower.
me.
What have you done? You
I
have brought your sister with you? And it just starts to float over Boo's head, this creature,
In a
towards...
matter of speaking, yes, but this is one of my kin, apparently.
You
and
should
we are
know
trying to-
better. The wind always causes that which is built to fall. As it did with you in the past. All that stands in the wind is destroyed.
Well, as they
I
say,
like this guy.
the wind will create waves, but it does not destroy the water.
It did not seem to be that way before you were locked here. It was her who bound you to this place.
So, what do I need to do to become unbound?
You should kill her.
Ooh.
You're not talking about her, and I point to Boo.
Boo, you kind of look around, and the top of the tower is completely flat and blocked off. The way that the other portion of the tower is completely blocked off. It's about 100 or so feet total. So 50 feet more to the top of the tower, and 50 feet to the bottom of the tower. And Malik is standing there, with weapon and such, present. And you kind of look down at this armor that you're wearing. You feel pretty well protected. You've got range on him. You're pretty sure if this were to come to blows.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not worried about my life or my well-being.
Oh, sure.
I feel like I'm gonna have to talk to Hawk for like 2 days to explain how Malik died.
It
Nice.
the merfolk sage here says, you brought not only your sister, devastating as she is, but she is also now a servant of your lieutenant, the betrayer. This would seem so. They seek to kill you. This is why your protection will not guard her. You've seen it. I know you've seen it.
Well, I don't know what to do. It would not be in my nature to kill my sister or any of my kin. So, in that way, I guess I'm destined to be killed by them.
Then, if that is what you wish, then so be it.
That is not what I wish.
John's laughing.
It's not what I wish, but I don't see how I could possibly harm one of them.
Boo slowly pulls out a dagger, holds it out, and says, "Do you want to just do it for me?" Smiles at him.
Are you saying that to that person?
No, to you.
Nah, I'm talking to you. You want to kill yourself because that seems what you're destined to do. Like, let's just skip the middleman.
No, I don't want to kill myself either. Forget it.
Alright, never mind. Stagger away.
Hey, everything was cool for a while here. You were like my boat buddy, and now you just you're talking about killing me.
It's more like you were my boat.
How was your boat buddy? Add the buddy in there, and it's not as crazy.
Yes. The way that like Knight Rider and his car were buddies.
Yeah, they were. They were big. They were, big buddies.
Do me a favor, both of you make a
Still,
charisma saving
His
throw.
car, Mr. Feeney.
Unfortunately, I'm not as charismatic as my my actual character.
Yeah.
All right, roll charisma. Oh wait, I rolled a saving throw, but that's not
fuck
enough.
my face.
It was a 20. Anyways.
Whoa, I got a crit and a crit. Two
Jesus.
crits.
So, like,
Boo.
you're acting like a complete creep, and I'm acting really.
You're
great,
having this
I guess.
conversation, and everything that Malik is saying, like in this interjection, like you're like, go ahead, and you're kind of chiding at first, but he kind of comes off as Malik sometimes does for your character, and you have this raw kind of twitch coming on. Like everything he's saying just seems sanctimonious and just arrogant, and like you don't know where I came from, and like in this slow just dialogue kind of breaks down in your mind like I could kill you in a second, you're lucky that I don't, like kind of situation. But you feel like at a point it's like, I mean, maybe I should. I mean, I could. It wouldn't be that hard. Malik, on the other hand, you start to realize that this conversation, no matter what you say, it becomes like, he's taking it toxically, and you kind of just realize I should shut up for a second and just stop for a second. I'm not saying like, so you just realize that you saying anything is upsetting him more. And basically right when he gets to the point where he feels like he has to do it, you realize this and you stop, and Boo doesn't have any like tinder to kind of burn, like to help him kind of swell in his anger. You kind of stop and realize that something's happening here. And you look up at this fucking guy, this sage, and you realize that he's been kind of moving his fingers gently ever since you guys started talking. Strangely, like the sages do when they're casting spells.
I think we're being manipulated, Boo. How about we get out of here? Ooh, he's gonna whip out
not
the
a-
amulet.
Charm effect, is it?
Nope.
Oh man. Okay. Fair
Oh
enough.
no, I know what that does.
Just making sure. I'm just making sure, man.
It doesn't
I gotta
seem.
throw it out there.
It doesn't seem you were being charmed. It seemed like your emotions were being altered.
Fair enough.
But you don't realize it's happening.
don't know what to do.
Malik does.
Yeah, I still wanna kill Malik.
You don't. He's not talking. He basically saved in such a way that he's not causing you to want.
I know.
to.
So he needs to make the next move.
Yeah,
is my
what I would
point.
do is I would say,
like I
stop
can't
this.
do anything now.
I would say stop. Actually, what I would do is I would pull out my sword of sharpness, and I would say, I'd like point it at him and say, "Stop casting your spells, or I will be forced to strike." Does he stop?
He kind of, still moving his fingers, kind of lowers down to almost ground level and kind of still wiggling his fingers. He looks at you and says, "Oh, what?"
Or what? If you are messing with me and my friend's emotions, and you're casting spells, and if you keep doing that,
As you
then I know
are
you're...
trying to finish that sentence, he starts going at you, and you're like, "What the fuck?"
Oh shit!
Water starts to spill up out of his mouth and like flood out of his eyes, and he just starts to kind of like swell outwards as this water starts spilling out of him. The flesh of the merfolk just falls to the ground, manta ray cloaks and all, and water starts to just kind of freeze a bit on the sides of the ice tower. Then you hear that ring sound go through the tower again. Or what? Ring. The whole tower seems to be bellowing with his voice.
Holy moly!
I tried
This-
to play nice, but now I demand it. And then Boo, make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, messing with you, Boo.
You'll be fine. They're all gonna die, Hawk.
We both have death ward on us,
Yikes.
so we can kill each other at least once.
You're outside of 10 feet from him. Do you want to spend a luck point Indomitable or anything?
Yeah, I'll do another Indominate
Okay.
one.
You can do it, Boo.
You feel a force kind of like press into you and try and control you, and you hear the tower yell to you, "Kill him." But you resist this primal urge that's kind of bellowing inside of you, and you quickly realize too, you're still pissed at Malik, and you could kill him, like you know you could, but you're also realizing too, like what Malik just said and what just happened seems to have pissed off the tower merfolk, and you realize your emotions are out of whack. Hint, hint. Look at the bottom of your amulet, the last option.
So I can do the calm emotions, right?
Yep, you kind of grab onto the amulet and focus in on that, and start to kind of loosen the rage that's building up inside of you that was being forced into you.
Yeah.
All right, as that scene kind of comes to not quite a close, but a nice head, we're going to go ahead and cut back to to the other group, the last group.
Indeed.
Okay.
What are they up to?
It looks like
What are we doing?
another thing too is that as the turtle you're on is basically just eating the shit out of this kelp like he has never ate before. You also notice that the water that's splaying on the northern portion, it's kind of going up onto the flat water surface. It almost seems like it's solid, like a flat mirror.
So I'm just remembering what the tablet said, and there was a dragon after the kelp field, so I'm looking for anything that's dragon-like.
Dragon in the kelp field.
Dragon in the kelp field. Okay.
I'm going to look into the reflective pool of water.
Make a intelligence check there, Hawk.
hmm Just straight intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
You'll
Oh, boy.
realize that if Zelvor looks in the water, he'll die. I don't know.
You actually recall stories from when you were in your soldier days of people who were in the Navy talking about these creatures known as dragon turtles. Large turtles, not this massive by any stretch, but you remember the name and it kind of clicks, and then you kind of are looking down at the situation where there's this huge dragon turtle, or what you would presume is one, in a kelp field. It seems to kind of be matching up.
Got
with
it.
our stone tablet.
Got it. So then I would go down with Zell and help him check out the water.
Okay. If you guys maneuver off of the turtle, it's close enough to the edge that you can kind of, swim over really quick and get to it. And it feels like it is a flat plane of solid surface that you can pull yourself up onto. It also feels like it's also like flat vertically as well. So it's like a solid cube in the water. You kind of hop up onto it, and as you do, the mirror pane kind of moves like water would, but it doesn't allow you to sink below it. But it's completely perfectly reflective, except that Hawk, when you get onto it, it doesn't reflect you at all. Zelbor, when it reflects you, you're kind of a bright color on top of it, like you seem to be glowing.
I mean, I am amazing.
It actually causes the area to light up a bit in the night sky, like because you're glowing off of the mirror.
Okay,
Direction-wise, you can go north, you can go east, you can go west, or any in-betweens of those. But south is Big Turtle eating his life away in a great... He's so happy.
well, it says something about where the crown lies beyond the kelp field.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing as we went north to get to the kelp field, I'm going to guess north?
Okay, if you start wandering in that direction, perfectly fine. Okay. The others, quite a few leagues back, the tower kind of, quiets down as you two look at each other. Boo Oh, Zach's not there yet. Let me go back to them and do that.
No, he disappeared.
Kiss the girl.
I can do them for a little bit longer. It's fine. So you guys are walking along, and Hawk, like I said, you don't see yourself in the mirror, so it feels like you're walking on nothing. You're seeing like the sky above, below your feet. And looking at it from the side, Zelbor, it looks really weird as well, because again, it looks like you're casting a reflection, but he's not for some reason.
Personally, I blame the public school system.
Once you walk a good long distance, though, it feels like you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you can't. I mean, you can barely see the turtle behind. And off to the north, you can see what looks like a large raised dais, about equidistant. It's like an hour away. And then the next thing you notice is that Hawk steps forward, and right where he steps, the mirror cracks outwards in all directions.
Oh boy. I did it now.
Not like ice, like glass. Okay. Once you
Okay.
stop, though, the cracking kind of halts and doesn't seem to splay out any further. It seems like stopping has caused the situation. So I'd say that you've moved in about an hour's distance. So what would that be like? How long can you travel in a mile? A couple miles.
How long can you travel in an hour?
If you-
Yeah, you can a couple of miles. Yeah.
A couple of miles at a walking pace. Yeah, and then up ahead is about the same distance, about a mile.
Average walking speed is about 3.1 miles per hour.
Let's go with 3 miles. But you can see on the horizon there's a silhouette of what looks like some sort of dais or something, and behind you can see the silhouette of the Turtle City.
Hawk, this isn't me being rude or mean or anything, but maybe you should stay here and I'll be back in time.
Okay.
Don't worry, worst thing that happens to me is I die out there and you have no idea. Stay here for me forever and die, because obviously you do that for me. I know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You go ahead and I'll wait here for all eternity.
Right.
All right.
Let's hope.
Okay. If you ascend without Hawk, and Hawk stays in the mirror, Hawk, what I need from you, two things. Firstly, let's see how this goes. I need you to make me a Constitution saving throw as you try to stay standing in the position that you had without shifting too much.
Secondly, he needs your phone number. Not for
Yeah.
any particular reason.
Right.
But
Right, but you manage to keep your position. Every so often, like with a slight shifting of your foot, you see another crack kind of splinter off. And you also notice, too, that as you've been waiting here for a little while, water is actually kind of coming up out of the cracks, but not like rushing out. It's just like a small, little, tiny amount, very slowly. And then what I need from you is a wisdom saving throw.
Okay. Gets lucky ready. Oh yeah, indomitable.
Oh.
Indomitable.
Yeah, that's why I saw these rerolls. Well, you can only use one anyways, so. Indomitable specifically says you can't reroll it.
Even with a lucky?
Yeah, it specifically says you can't reroll it, I think.
Okay. I should have done lucky, but that's all right.
just hope you roll well.
Better
No,
still.
it's worse.
You actually start to think that you aren't even real, and here's why. You're looking down at the mirror, and there's nothing. There's no reflection of anything that's on you at all. You're not even present. And you start to think about, am I actually in the mirror placement? Am I up above? Like, where am I in relation to everything that seems to be present? You just feel completely alone, completely locked in your own place. We're going to cut from you. We're going to go back to Zach and
Cody.
Kevin.
What'd you say, Bodie?
He said Cody. It threw me off.
Zach and Cody.
Kevin.
Cody. Oh, nice.
So you two are kind of understanding like your position in this place and have resisted the call to fight one another. What do you do?
This truly is my worst nightmare. It's gonna
You
make me
fight one
fight my
another.
own people. Yes.
But you seem to have resisted it. You pretty much have like no options exit wise. Not that you can like immediately, unless you have something intelligently cool to
Do
think
we
about.
have anything? Can we see this being around anywhere, or do
You
we
can
just
see
hear
its
his voice?
flesh laying on the ground.
Damn flesh. Do you want to get out of here? Boo.
Ow.
Ah,
Ow.
that was really weird.
Ow.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Ow.
I thought you were gonna say I thought you would never ask or something.
Something is like
Is there a door? Still? I mean, it's covered with ice.
it's
right?
covered with ice, and then there's the cap of the tower, which is also covered with ice.
Crap. You know, I think the best way would be to get rid of this guy that's in here, but can't even really see him.
Again.
All right, I got a plan. Let's head up
Good.
towards the cap, and we'll cut it, and basically we'll cut our way out of the top of the tower because it sounds crazy, you know.
Cut
I
it.
have this sword of sharpness.
Cut it with what?
Sword of sharpness.
Sword of sharpness. It cuts through ice, right?
What are we gonna do? Like, how are you planning on getting up there?
Oh, you walk. You're not.
This is
It's vertical.
Yeah,
Or
we
it's
can
not vertical. It's
walk.
horizontal. It's no longer vertical. Yeah, it
Got
fell.
it.
I
Right, you're
say
right.
we just
Sweep
rush
up
out of
there.
the top of that tower,
Okay.
you know, and we'll cut our way out if need be.
Great.
If we run into any
Sword
bad
of
guys, we'll
sharpness.
kill them.
All right.
Let's just
Sounds
stay
like-
within 10 feet of each other and be cool.
When you get to the tower's top, Zell, or I'm sorry, Zell. Why did I do that? Boo, you. He was running away, so I was thinking about Matt. But Boo, you see that
Baby, come back.
with your amulet, what you're realizing is that this icy wall isn't real. It seems to be
Son of a bitch.
liquid, not solid, like it could be passed through with no problem. What's beyond, you're pretty sure some sort of flat surface, but not something that you saw when you were entering the tower in the first place.
I'm gonna have to get up and show him what I do. I literally just put my hand out, like take my hand, Boo. Take my hand, and we'll walk through this together.
That looked more like a football like ass smack than.
I know
Yeah.
it doesn't work over video.
Boo sees hand coming out. Boo jumps through wall.
Okay. You roll out onto
Oh,
an
God.
icy plain. It appears to be a completely flat ice platform that you've landed on, but it kind of rises up above you to a higher point, and there's a lot of snow coming down, but the sun's still shining brightly here, and it causes the snow to kind of glisten with like a wetness, you presume from melting. But beyond that, you can't really see anything besides the entrance that you entered into, and it too is kind of slowly becoming snow-covered as well.
I'm gonna jump out after him, and then I'm gonna say, "Boo!" When I put my hand out like that, I'm not like telling you to go forward. I'm saying we could do this together, man. He's just ignoring me, right?
Fair.
He's not even saying it.
Yep. Walking.
I want to get within his zone of calmness because that's awesome. We're just gonna chill.
So,
Walk.
perception-wise, all you're really looking at is the top cap of that iceberg, like that ice mountain you're sitting at. Presumably an iceberg.
The zone of calmness.
So wait a minute.
Do you want to try and circumnavigate it or climb it?
What do you want to do?
How high does it look?
Probably about 50 or so feet, not too high.
Let's friggin' climb it.
I mean, yeah, this
Do
guy's
it. We're
got
already
it.
halfway here. We're at the base camp,
You guys climb
right?
up to the top of this surface, and what you see once you get there is to the north. You can see what looks to be like a mirror, like in the water, massive mirror. Just surface is completely just reflecting the sun up from it. But because of your slightly higher vantage point, and I mean, you're looking out on the horizon, it looks like there's a single silhouette standing out on the mirror by himself.
Oh.
It can't be our friends because they never would have left each other.
Then,
Right?
what you also
Zelbor's
see,
dead.
and a bit more sudden, is behind you a massive ship coming straight for your mountain on the water near this iceberg, and it slams into the iceberg suddenly and starts to break apart. On the front of the ship, you see this person on the front of it, and he yells out, and the wind carries his voice to you, and he says, "The stories, did he hear them?"
Did we hear the stories? No.
I ain't heard shit.
Shit. He says, we're still waiting for the story.
And you kind of don't really reply. As you don't really reply, he kind of comes off of the figurehead of the ship and starts floating over towards you. The wind kind of slowing around him as he approaches.
Then I would basically say, let me handle this, boo.
By all means, so well in the past.
Strange floating people are my specialty. So then I would say, my name is Malik. I am also known as a descendant of Duvernay.
What did the sages tell you?
They told me that this is how well you pay attention in class. They told me that I needed to kill him, but that guy was a liar. But they said it was inevitable. Like, I think that guy was a liar. But then when we were in a different tower, the lady told us that we already knew everything we needed to know. Is that what she told us?
He kind of raises his hand and he looks to Boo, and he says, "It sounds like he read the stories. That was not supposed to happen.
Oh shit!
And for that you will be punished." And he closes his fist.
Didn't read these stories. I don't even know how to read.
He closes his fist, and
That's a lie,
Boo, you
sorry.
vanish.
Fishes?
Yep, and so does this guy. He heads back over to his ship and gets back on board.
Oh shit! You are hitting me with my worst nightmare. I'm all alone.
All right.
The whole
I
time,
just collapsed.
Boo is standing behind Mel, shaking his head just as he talks. The whole time, he knew it was happening.
And then he's like, "Man, this is gonna fucking suck." And then whoosh. So we'll cover what happens. We'll go ahead and end at a better point, a high note, since that's a bit depressing. Zelvor, you walk on across the mirror, wondering, kind of.
And I would walk 500 miles.
Not terribly concerned about what has happened to not terribly concerned about what's happened to Hawk. Yeah, don't even
Yeah,
remember
clearly.
his name.
Clearly.
And you see up ahead
Well, can I just say, Zach, I love your reaction.
you see a dais, and on top of the dais is a throne that seems to be made completely and entirely out of driftwood, just interlocked together, and kind of connected. It's complete. The dais is completely covered with like seaweed and just scraps of bits of jellyfish that have been cast up onto it. As the water behind the throne is still tumult and kind of actual water. The night sky still reigns here, and as you kind of approach this sea throne, it doesn't look like anyone's sitting on it, but it does look like sitting in the seat of the throne is a golden crown, ornate with jewelry and with a bright, beautiful stone at its center. And you can think about whether or not you want to pick it up or not.
No, Zelbor wants to sit on that chair.
Well, you're going to have to move that crown to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you pick up the crown, put it on, and sit down?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Instant death.
Your vision
That's what I'm thinking.
your vision starts to kind of brighten, and you start to see things as if it were daylight. It seems like the night sky above no longer happens to be the case. And Hawk, for you, it appears the same way. It seems like you are now looking at a bright sunshiny day instead of the night sky. You also look down beneath you, and you are casting a shadow. You also look to the south, and there appears to be kind of a floating hill, just off in the distance, probably about the same distance the dragon turtle was, but it doesn't have a city on its back anymore, which you'd think you'd be able to see at this point.
So no more cracked mirror.
The mirror is not cracked, correct. And then, Boo. I'm sorry, Mel, you're standing up on a hill. It's no longer snowy, but it's still, it's still sunshiny for you. And then Boo, for you, you are in the hold of an ice ship, cast there by the that individual. As you sit there quietly, you also realize that you're no longer wearing the armor of the captain of the ship.
You're also no longer wearing pants.
You're also not wearing pants. No, but
You've been picked up.
we'll go ahead and end the session there. So next session we'll pick up, probably starting with Boo, and seeing what he does inside the ship.
Next session coming in 8 months.
No, no.
Yeah, that's right.
That
One of us
was
might
so
actually be dead
Stop
by
this
then.
stream.